It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rest!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Josh Silverberg.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. You're a never was. And we are finally here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, and Joshua Silverberg. Remember, guys, you can listen to the show every single Wednesdays and Thursdays from 9 p.m. all the way to 12 a.m. A lot of content on this show. We're going to have special guests every single show. Tonight we're not because this is our first show, so I'm very excited to have this show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. There will not be any more Down to the Wire or, what is that sound right, by the way, Speedy? I hear a lot of back tone over there. What's going on over there? I have no idea what's going on over there, but that's my producer, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, what is that sound, by the way, Speedy?
Nothing else playing.
I don't know. It is a huge, terrible sound, so you definitely got to check that out because it's making a really, really bad sound. I have no idea. Anyways, remember you can go to our website at www. What are you laughing at over there? What are you laughing at?
Just madness already. We haven't even started yet.
Well, it's probably on your side. That's probably why. But anyways, you can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can go to our app, iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I will say this. I've done so many shows on so many different networks, and I've been working over the years on Below the Mic and Down to the Wire. I've had tons of different guests and co-hosts on Down to the Wire and Below the Mic, so it was very upsetting when I decided to part ways with those shows, but I really wanted to give something to the fans late at night. A lot of people say, well, what's going on with your late night shows on Wednesdays and Thursdays? There's no late night show. And I come home and I never get a chance. I don't want to listen to the garbage on all the different channels. If you're in New York, WFAN, if you're in Cincinnati, you're on 101.9 or something like that. There's so many just terrible sports radio networks and shows out there at night. And people are looking for something that can entertain people and get them amused. So here we are. We're here to amuse all the fans on not only our network, but throughout the country. So I'm very excited to be here. As you know, Speedy Petey has been my host for the last couple of years. A so-called producer that sometimes does a very good job and sometimes is a little outlandish and doesn't know what the hell he's doing, as you see right over here. And then we have the crazy and outlandish Joshua Silverberg that was out of his mind, and I'm lucky he knows from his ass from his tailbone. But Josh, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys? Listen,
What's
I'm ecstatic
going on, guys? What's going on, guys?
We're 5 minutes in. We're starting already. Here we go. I'm excited. Listen, I am really excited about this. This is a huge opportunity to really bring it to the fans. This is, like you said, Errol, this is something that we've talked about doing for a while now, and we want to change the way radio is. We feel like radio sports talk out there is just not what it once was. I mean, you heard it in the intro. You heard, the outlandish voices of Mike and the Mad Dog and those guys. I mean, those are historical people that we look back on, and, I think we need to bring some of that kind of momentum back to what sports talk is. The craziness, the laughing, the funny, but also the seriousness and the yelling and all that stuff. It brings entertainment to the people. That's what we're here to do. And always working with Speedy is always a pleasure. We know that. Come on.
Well, I don't know about that. I've been working with him for years, and as you can see, I sit right next to him. Sometimes he smells, but other times,
oh man,
other times.
At least I got my haircut just for you.
I took my Advil before we started the show.
Well, he did get a haircut, so he doesn't have a mop on the top of his head, but he looks decent. But all in all, I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to entertain the people. For the next 3 hours, you get to listen to my crazy ass and get to hear what's going on, guys. Joshua Silverberg or Speedy Petey saying, well, you know, the analytics to pi to the acute of the football field. You know, I mean, that's Speedy Petey trying to use pi to acute.
That would be my brother. I'm not that smart.
I mean, I seriously, I don't even know what the pi and the acute is anyway. So there you go.
You know what I'll say to that is, right? Who booked this crap then?
Well, definitely not me. But as you guys know, we are here to entertain you guys. So the first segment, and we have a lot to talk about. We're going to get into a lot of NFL conversation. I know a lot of people are NFL fans with the offseason and the draft only 3 weeks away on my birthday, the 29th of April. We're going to see the Jets draft Zach Wilson, and we're going to get into the whole Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson dilemma with Jet fans out there that are going back and forth. Some Jet fans say that it was an absolute ridiculous move for the Jets to trade Sam Darnold, and the other people say, oh, I'm so excited, he's gone, and we're bringing in Zach Wilson when we don't even know who the hell Zach Wilson is. But we're going to get into the NFL. We're going to talk NBA, obviously, with all the different moves and some of the pickups, the 10-day signings for some of these teams. Some of these teams are getting richer, and some of these teams are getting poorer. So that's just a whole nother interesting dilemma as well. But anyways, I want to get into the Sam Darnold situation because Sam Darnold, ladies and gentlemen, did something that really, really upsetted me over the weekend. And I'm sure everybody heard that Sam Darnold was getting traded, and he got traded to the Carolina Panthers. So again, when people look at the Carolina Panthers and understand where Sam Darnold is as a quarterback, obviously he wasn't ready for prime time. He wasn't ready for New York. And you see what's going on with the New York Jets and the organization as a whole, deciding to part ways with Sam and go somewhere else. And that is Zach Wilson. It seems like the story is it is Zach Wilson. So I saw something that was posted on social media yesterday. And Speedy, show the fans what. As you saw, Sam Darnold was very, very excited parting ways with the New York Jets, as well as he should be, because the New York Jets as an organization has been an utter disappointment. Bringing in Adam Gase a couple of years ago didn't make anything better and didn't really help Sam Darnold, even though Sam Darnold over the last couple of months has stuck up for the great Adam Gase, Cuckoo Eyes, or whatever you want to call him, or Dumpling Glover. But Adam Gase does not have a job right now. He's probably not going to have a job for many, many years to come. He did interview for a couple of jobs this offseason, including the Seattle Seahawks. He went over there to Alabama. He interviewed for the Alabama offensive coordinator job. But he obviously doesn't have a job yet. And Sam Darnold's on his way to Carolina. As you could see, I wasn't very happy because, to me, as good as Sam Darnold was as a Samaritan for the New York Jets, this is a guy that didn't really cry about anything, didn't throw anybody under the bus, didn't do what Jamal Adams do and hide himself in a room and made sure that his father knocked on the door and told the Jets organization that his son wants to be moved and he has 8 teams lined up of where he wants to go. It wasn't a Jamal Adams situation. It wasn't the Leonard Williams situation or any of the different players that have come and gone with the New York Jets. So it was none of the others. But when you look at the Jets right now and you look at Sam Darnold and what he did to the organization right there, and I understand he's excited. He's going on to his next team, and hopefully this will be the last stop and last team that he's going to go to. But only time will tell. Sam Darnold showed the fans that I'm not going to say it was a classless move, but why would you post that on social media? Why would Sam let that go on social media? For over the years, he has not done anything. He's not posted anything on social media, and he really hasn't thrown the Jets and the organization under the bus. And all of a sudden, he does this, and to me, it was classless. Whoever took the video, whoever posted a video, if it wasn't his father, his mother, his sister, his brother, or whoever the heck who was, I don't think he has a brother, he has a sister, but whoever posted it, his friends, that was classless, Josh. Very, very classless.
I agree with you. I think what it shows, first off, it shows how weak-minded he is because, one, once you post something out there on the media, that's it. It's out there for good. So basically what it shows is everything that this organization said. Joe Douglas sent them a nice message going out the door, basically saying that we hope the best for him. We think he's going to succeed. We think this is best for both parties. It was almost like Joe Douglas said, we're doing you a favor by doing this. And then you post this video about it. I think it was so ridiculous to do something like this because this is the last thing I would have expected from Sam. I wouldn't have expected him to go to the level of kind of a Jamal Adams-esque celebration because that's what it came off like. They had the black and blue balloons in the background. He's putting the hat on. They're going crazy with the music, even though he doesn't know how to dance clearly. It was just so silly with the way it was. Like, what's the point of posting it? Just make a statement and move on. It's over. You had your chapter. We did a favor for you by letting you go on to a new place. Why do you have to go out the door and just stomp on it any more than it has
Hold
to
on,
be?
Modern athletes are petty, Josh.
Hold on one second.
That's what they do.
Hold on one second. You said that the Jets did him a favor. You Jet fans, all you Jet fans out there that didn't want him there because you thought he wasn't the fit. He wasn't the right fit for the organization. The Jets never gave him a chance. I can understand why he was excited to get the hell out of here because the Jets didn't give him an opportunity to succeed. But for all the Jet fans, including you, Josh, that wanted him out of here, he never got a chance to shine. So
no, absolutely
you have to look at that. And the Jets did him a favor? No, he did the Jets a favor. He did the Jets a favor by just walking out and not really taking a shot at the organization as well as he should. I just think that this was classless. Whoever posted this up, that was a classless move by Sam Darnold.
That's what I'm saying by when I'm talking about it being classless. This is the classless part by Sam. So whoever did this video and him approving it, that's what, because he's at nothing on social media. He doesn't have a Twitter. I don't know if he uses Instagram or anything like that. Not sure about that. Meanwhile, you're showing all these highlights. Speedy, why don't you show the rollout where he throws it right into the DB's chest?
Of course you're going to take shots at him again.
Okay,
of course you're going to take shots at him.
Instead of showing these little wonderful highlights of him throwing it to Robbie Anderson against the Dallas Cowboys, I'm sure the Beav's going to call in about that highlight.
Jeff's favorite game of 2019. Let's remember that.
Let's be realistic here, guys. When you look at what Sam does, and I understand coaching is a huge culprit in the game. It is. Adam Gase is a horrible coach. He couldn't even get the Alabama offensive coordinator job, and they'll hire anybody.
Nah, they're too high profile for Adam Gase.
Well, listen, they hired Dan between Dan O'Brien and Adam Gase, right? Or Bill O'Brien.
At least Bill O'Brien's had some good seasons. Adam Gase went 2-14. Bill O'Brien never did that bad.
Well, I mean, look at it this way, though, Speedy. You have to look at it at this point. Yes, coaching is one thing. When it comes to a person doing the most simple things in football, when you're doing a rollout, okay?
Oh, here we go.
In the pocket,
here we go.
And you do a rollout, and you throw it right into triple coverage.
Wait, Adam Gase's playbook has
That's
rollouts?
coaching. That is coaching.
How is that coaching?
That is coaching. Because if he actually was a good coach, Josh, and he actually tells and shows video and shows footage of what he was doing and what he has done wrong year in and year out, or week in and week out, maybe Sam Darnold wouldn't have been doing that.
Of course not, but videos are one thing. I'm sure they watch videos. If they didn't, then clearly they weren't doing their job. And they weren't doing their job. But at the same time, shouldn't you? If you're Sam Darnold, you've done this once, twice, 3 times. It's like, I use a wrestling thing. Ric Flair going off the turnbuckle. It never works.
Yeah, well, this isn't wrestling. This wasn't wrestling. This isn't wrestling. This is the New York. This is the New York Jets organization, and how big of a joke the organization has been in year in and year out. And then they have stupid, crazy people out there, including yours truly, and I'm talking about you, who just throws Sam Darnold. You know what? Goodbye, Sam. So long. Go to South Carolina. Enjoy yourself.
Get me CJ on the phone.
No.
CJ.
CJ will call on his own terms, Josh.
Listen,
get him on the phone.
Why are we going to put CJ? Why? Because you know he's going to take your side? Because you know?
Course.
Yeah, of course. Because you got Kevin Jackson and CJ DeSimone that agree with you. And then there are other people and other Jet fans.
The same Kevin Jackson that said Sam Darnold is the same boat as Geno Smith.
Well,
here's the thing. With Joe Douglas and with Robert Saleh,
no, here we go.
They didn't have any allegiance to Sam.
So it makes it okay for what they did. It makes it okay. Because they didn't have any allegiance.
Listen, I think Sam got a raw deal here in New York. But I think it's best for both parties.
It's best for both parties because, and we will get into Zach Wilson in just 1 second, because everybody and their mother knows where they're going now. They're going to Zach Wilson, BYU star quarterback, to come over here and be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets, which who knows if this is the right decision or the wrong decision. But here's the thing. When you look at San Francisco, and San Francisco just gave away 3 first-round draft picks to move up to the 3rd pick, you could have made that trade with San Francisco, solidified yourselves in the future for the next 3 years, having all that draft stock where if Russell Wilson becomes available, if Sam isn't the guy, if Russ Wilson becomes available, maybe if Deshaun Watson gets out of this whole sex thing, trouble, harass,
he ain't
sexual...
getting out of this hole.
Well, if he gets out of this hole, Deshaun Watson could be a guy that the Jets could go after, and they have the draft stock to get him. I think that this by itself affects the New York Jets because now you depend on Zach Wilson to be the guy. And if Zach Wilson isn't the guy, now you look at Robert Saleh, you look at Mike LaFleur, you look at, obviously, Joe Douglas as the blame because they decided. And by the way, if Sam Darnold goes over there to Carolina and lights it up because he's going to a better team. They have a star running back over there. They have a coach that actually knows what he's doing. We don't know what Robert Saleh is. We don't know what he is, but we know that Matt Rule knows what he's doing as an offensive mind and as a defensive mind and as a coach.
It's more Joe Brady. Joe Brady is going to be the key. If Joe Brady could turn him around, Joe Brady's going to get a job next year. I think Joe Brady needs a little more seasoning.
He was already getting interviews this year, including for the Jets job.
I knew nobody was going to hire him. I thought it was too soon, but I think listen, I completely get where Arrow's going with this. Listen, you don't want to see him succeed because then it's going to be the brunt of the joke. It's going to be the typical same old Jets thing, so on and so forth. At the same time,
I blame the fans.
Draft.
I blame the fans for all of this. I blame the fans for every single thing that's happened in the last couple of weeks with this whole Sam Darnold thing. This is the fans' fault. But
Joe Douglas doesn't listen to the fans.
I think that's a crock of you-know-what. Because Joe Douglas, as much as he's running this organization, he still has Woody Johnson whispering in his ear. And you know Woody Johnson, whenever the fans spoke, as everybody knows, John Izek, when they spoke and they had that friggin' plane flying all over the practice facility, what did he do? He got rid of John. As soon as he saw that, he knew that he was on his way out. This is the problem. The fans open their mouths. They think that they run the organization. They don't run this organization. This organization who's been an absolute joke, a dumpster fire since the day I became a Jet fan in 1989, 88. They have been a dumpster fire. This organization that really doesn't know what they're doing. I like what Joe Douglas has done so far in the draft, but Joe Douglas has to land on this draft too. And if Zach Wilson, and we are just about to talk about Zach Wilson and what my thoughts is now that Zach Wilson right now is hunting for a house with him and his family, and now Joe Douglas is selling New York to his family because everybody knows that if Zach Wilson doesn't want to be here, it's not going to last long here with the New York Jets. It's not.
He'll end up being the 49ers' future quarterback.
It all depends on the draft stock, right? And look, the Jets have a lot of ammo now. They just got another second-round pick for next year from Carolina, all right? So they got that going for them. But look at it this way, too. Joe Douglas has done well with the draft. We've talked about this the other day off the air. His free agency's been a debacle. I would hope it can't get any worse.
His free agency, though, was mostly short-term contracts, though, last year, too, though. Whereas this year, they're much more higher profile.
Exactly. But even still, though, Speedy, when he does those contracts, you notice after the first year, none of them are really – it's not guaranteed. That's what he always seems to stick it to.
Most of them are one-year deals last year outside of the offensive linemen, though.
Well, but I mean, look, Van Roden is still there. Lewis is still there. Why are they still there?
Didn't Lewis get released last year?
No, he's still here.
No, Lewis is not there anymore.
Yeah, I thought he got released.
Lewis was released last year.
Well, then who was it? Oh, yes, he did. It was Van Roden is still here, though.
Yes, Van Roden is still there.
I don't understand why he's still there. He's another one I can't understand why he's still there. But again,
because he's a rodent. That's why. He's a rat. That's what he is.
We know. That's for sure, because he's still in the money of this team.
Yeah, with all the Jets and with the organization as a whole, they have been a rat of an organization. And I'm a Jet fan. This is coming from a Jets fan's mouth. And I'm telling you, this organization has been an absolute joke. And all
But
you
what
Jet
if they hit
fans,
it right on Wilson?
I hope they do, because if they don't, the Jets fans are not going to be very happy when Sam Darnold's playing in the Pro Bowl year in and year out, and they gave Sam Darnold up for a 6th round this year, a 2nd next year, and a 4th, where I think they could have gotten more. I think they should have waited. I would have held on to Sam Darnold for at least a couple of games in the beginning of the season, show that he could play with more talent, and then trade him for a first-round draft pick. I think they could have.
Yeah, they could have definitely gotten more than a 2nd next year, because the Panthers
know that,
actually
but it
got
would
a
have been a
bargain.
distraction for both guys. It would have been a distraction for Wilson, and it would have been a distraction for
Distraction
Sam.
for
Sam
what?
knows in the back of his
He's a
mind.
rookie.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee that the offer would have waited that long either, though, for it to happen, for them to get a 2nd this year, though, too. Teams will become more desperate for the quarterbacks, even within the draft, too.
It's like, when did we talk about it, Speedy? On the Weekend Crunch, we talked about it when teams – we talked about it with Steven Matz. Steven Matz getting desperate and everything like that. That's what it is.
The dilemma of urgency versus patience versus trade deadline versus offseason, right? So
the only problem is this. Say, for example, on the first drive of the season, the Jets go 3-and-out. Sam Darnold's the quarterback. They pass on all these quarterbacks.
You're listening to too many radio shows, because that's what I heard on every radio show.
Person, when I'm thinking this in my head, they will boo the kid out of the building.
That's why you play quarterback. Look at what Giancarlo Stanton's dealing with the Yankees, Yankee fans.
I think
look at Aaron Judge is doing. What's going on with the Yankee fans with Aaron Judge? This is New York. Deal with it.
He's been in the playoffs and succeeded in the playoffs with the Yankees. Darnold's been here for 3 years. Nothing's gotten done. And if clearly,
what's gotten done with the Yankees?
Who says that doesn't happen to Zach Wilson though either? If he throws 2 interceptions in his first game too.
Oh, listen. Well, I tell you this. So I would hope. Sane fans, and again, no disrespect, I'm a Jet fan too. These are Jet fans we're talking about.
We can see that.
Every fan base has insane fans, so that cancels out in some extent.
I would hope they have a little more patience with the certain situation. Look,
so wait a second. So the Jet fans should have more patience with Zach Wilson.
Rookie compared to a fourth-year guy.
Sam Darnold's 23 years old to Zach Wilson's 21. Okay, and the guy hasn't played a full season, and you've given him crap. Zach Wilson's going to have more talent around him than Sam Darnold has had in 3 years.
But he also hasn't played a full year, Sam. He's been very injury prone. That's another issue.
So hold on one second. So it's Sam Darnold's fault.
2 seconds if you want me to.
So it's Sam Darnold's. So it's Sam Darnold's fault that he hurt his ankle because of the offensive line help in the first year. And then in the second year, when he hurt his back, when he got beaten by a living pulp by I think it was the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken.
And it was also Cleveland with that one cheap shot.
And Cleveland, because they didn't have an offensive line to protect him or anybody that can get open. So that's Sam Darnold's fault too.
Okay, but time out. When Sam had time in the pocket, when Sam had time in the pocket this year, he still made the most.
Nobody was open.
And he overthrew guys. Yes, he did.
Who was open? Who was open?
Go back and watch some of the games. Go back and watch the Dolphins game where he missed guys in the red zone a bunch on passes that were 20-plus yards. He would overthrow guys constantly. And I'm just saying, though, you can make the noises all you want. Here's the thing. Why should LaFleur, Saleh, and Douglas have allegiance to this guy if they didn't pick him? Why?
How could they not give him some kind of allegiance when you don't even know what you have? You haven't even given him a chance.
It's not even about
He's
what they have.
23 years old.
They didn't pick the guy. In every single organization, every owner, GM, they want to stamp their name on the guy they picked. That's how it runs in
all right.
That doesn't mean it necessarily is going to work, though, either.
Of course it might not work, but this is what their ego is.
The Raiders did it with a whole massive purge when in 2017, while they had a down year, we're still one of the best teams in football.
So, Josh,
all of a sudden, they trade all these assets away.
It's an ego-centric sport.
That doesn't make it good.
What it is, it's all ego. Guys get in the way of other people. This is what they want. It happened with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. It's all ego. Guys get in the way. They want to stamp their name on it.
So why did Joe Douglas, when he took this job, say that Sam Darnold was his guy? Sam Darnold looks like the guy. He's everything that he wants in a quarterback. He came out when he took this job. He said that he believes Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback of the future for a very, very long time. And then all of a sudden, a year and a half later, he decides to get rid of him for this year's 6th-round pick for the Carolina Panthers, a 2nd and a 4th next year.
Jamal Adams was going to be a lifetime Jet.
No, that everybody knew. Everybody knew that he didn't want Jamal Adams. Just like everybody knows C.J. Mosley is not. I mean, Mosley's not going to be there that long either. Everybody knows Mosley's not going to be there that long.
They're in a full rebuild.
I don't know about rebuild because they're rebuilding right now to win now. They're looking to win now. And with the team and what they're trying to build, they spent, $40 million this offseason with the acquisitions that they made. They have a ton of draft stock for the next
year. Have a lot of cap,
and a draft that is very lenient to their needs, too.
Mm-hmm. So
I will tell you this. I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to trade up in the first round, too.
Nah, I don't think they
I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to go get a corner.
There'll be enough corners available, I think, at 23, unless, again, it's a run.
It depends. I know they really love the kid from they love the kid from Northwestern. And there's reports
I think they could get him at 23, though. I think the only way the guy from Northwestern is not going to be there at 23 is if some team reaches for him really badly, where he goes maybe 10 or something like maybe 14.
He won't go that high, but the Farley injury kills it, Speedy.
I know that. No, I know that. I think Horn and Surtain are locks for that top 10-ish area, top 15. Minnesota's the one team that has a history of taking a lot of corners. Maybe they're the ones that take him if that's the case, because he's not the next best by far, though, too. There's still enough depth throughout that other areas where they can still fall back on something, too. And if not, if you don't have the corners there, you get a nice value at tackle, or you get a nice value with the
I know they like the kid, I believe Jenkins from Oklahoma State. They're a big fan of him. I've read that. Maybe they try to get up Vera Tucker from USC. Maybe they look at him and they say, maybe if he reaches down, they could get that far. I don't anticipate them going at a center.
But we're not even talking about that. We're talking about the quarterback position, and we're talking. I want to get into the whole Zach Wilson thing because. Again, we don't know what Zach Wilson is. Is Zach Wilson the best quarterback in this class? I would say he's the third, maybe even the fourth best quarterback in this class. Now, what he showed on his pro day, he looked the best at his pro day than any of the quarterback. But that's a pro day. You're not playing with pads. You're not playing with defensive players and corners. You're not doing any of that. So you don't know what you have in Zach Wilson. He played for BYU. Yes, you're going to say, well, the talent around him wasn't as good as most of the talent around guys like Fields or Lawrence or even Jones. But again, you look at Zach Wilson and you look at what his capabilities are. It fits the NFL style. Some people say he's the best NFL-ready quarterback in this class, but we don't know what he is until he steps on the field. And let's just say Zach Wilson steps on the field and he isn't the guy that people think he is. And the Jets didn't trade for those 3 first-round draft picks that they could have gotten San Francisco. And they didn't keep Sam Darnold, who becomes a Pro Bowl player and a franchise player for the Carolina Panthers. What are you going to say then? All you Jet fans that have been pushing Sam Darnold out over and over and over again. He doesn't belong here. He's not a New York State of mind quarterback. All of a sudden, turn your back on him and say, you know what? We're going to go with Zach Wilson.
It's funny because you're only looking at it at one perspective. You're literally looking at it. Wilson's going to fail. Sam's going to succeed. Why can't it be? What if Sam fails in Carolina? Wilson succeeds. Why does it have to only be one lane with you with this? You have
your lane is whatever team
one lane. You're looking at it as Sam's going to succeed, Zach's going to fail, and that's it. I'm telling the future like it is. Let me tell you something.
The future?
Things happen for a
Hopefully
reason.
You're not a genius.
You have a crystal ball?
Please.
Telling you, man. Listen, he fits this LaFleur offense too. That's another thing. He fits the system.
So hold on one second. So Sam Darnold didn't fit the system?
Hold on for 20 seconds.
He doesn't fit the system. Sam Darnold doesn't fit this system. Every quarterback fits this system. It's an easy system.
Then why did the 49ers trade for him?
Because they decided
they tried.
They tried to, but they decided that they thought that maybe if they can move up to the third pick, they could take their pick on the quarterback. Maybe the Jets.
They're going to take Mac Jones. That's going to work out well.
Why not?
I'm going to laugh if that happens.
He's a consistent thrower. He's the second most consistent thrower in this draft.
Mac Jones had that talent that we were talking about earlier.
And he's going to have talent around him over there in San Francisco.
Alabama quarterbacks are the absolute worst.
So are USC quarterbacks. So is besides one.
You have 2 top 15 receivers on your team, it makes you look great.
And Najee Harris.
That's how it is.
And Najee Harris, not to mention you only started for 1 year, too.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a lot of concerns I have for Jones,
too. He had O.J. Howard. Don't forget that. And he had a great offensive line.
No, he didn't have O.J. Howard.
Again.
He did not have O.J. Howard.
He never had O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard was the 2017 draft.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. But he still had 2 top 15 receivers and a really good running back. Oh, and a very good offensive line.
First of all, Jalen Waddle barely played this year. Jalen Waddle barely played this year, so I don't know what you're talking about. He had really just Smith that he was throwing the ball to, and he's the only. And the reason why Jalen Waddle
wasn't involved.
Yeah. Waddle barely played. He played, 4 games this year? 3 games this year in the playoffs?
Still a top 15 pick.
He's a top 50 because of his speed. Because of his speed. And Najee Harris is a great player, but he's going to fall out of the first round into the second round. Mac Jones is a good quarterback. He's a consistent quarterback. He fits their offense. He reminds me of a lot of Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan fit the Kyle Shanahan offense, a.k.a. they went to the Super Bowl, and then Kyle Shanahan washed that away with his play calling, as well as he did with Jimmy Garoppolo when he did that against the Kansas City Chiefs 2 years ago. So, again, I'm going back to what you've seen with Sam Darnold. How do you know? Now, Josh, you're a Jet fan, and you have sit there and you've really been pushing Sam Darnold out since the middle of the season. Yeah, I don't want him anymore. Zach Wilson or somebody else. That's what you've been saying. Now, all of a sudden, all the Jet fans, and I get so pissed off when I go on social media and I'm reading all these stupid Jet fans.
Everything upsets you, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, it would upset you when you hear something stupid come out of these guys' mouths. You have a guy that has a Facebook that has 11,000 people following his Facebook. They're all Jet fans, and all he could say is nasty things about Zach Wilson. I stick up for Zach Wilson because we don't know what Zach Wilson is. But then he's saying that the Jets are going to regret moving on from Sam Darnold, as well as I think they will too. Just because Zach Wilson, even if Zach Wilson becomes a top 10 quarterback in this league, if Sam Darnold's a top 5, the Jets made a mistake. The Jets made a mistake because they could have gotten 3 first-round draft picks. They could have kept Sam, and they would have solidified their positions, all their weaknesses in the positions that they have been weak in.
And again,
for years.
and you know what? And if it doesn't work out, they don't pick a quarterback, and they have to pay the option, $25 million option, and there's no quarterbacks coming out of the draft the next 2 years, the Jets are freaking screwed.
Well, not if they got the haul back for the second pick, though, or whatever tackle they ended up picking, though, too, because you also have to remember, based on whatever offers came, whichever offers was best, we've seen quarterbacks get moved around a lot more than usual, too. Look at Matthew Stafford being moved in the offseason, Carson Wentz, guys like that. Guys are going to want out. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson both allegedly want out. I don't know how truthful those are anymore.
I think Russ is going to stay with they're trying to get Antonio Brown, but
which is
that's what makes him happy.
It's another laughable thing in its own right. But
Antonio Brown's going to Seattle.
Oh, that's going to be funny. Well, that's going to be quite a train wreck over there.
But it's been a train wreck
as if it isn't already.
Yeah,
it is. Jamal Adams
for
is
what
there.
was thought of as one of the best front offices in football, just all of a sudden fell flat, and now it's one of the worst. So,
well, you're the one. First of all, you're the one who thought they were one of the best organizations in football. I never thought they were a great organization.
The Seahawks?
Yeah, I never.
They're a train wreck. Are you kidding me, dude? Pete Carroll's losing the whole team.
They are now. I'm saying their track record before that was very good, where they were consistent year to year. They generally developed players well, except for
it wasn't because of Carroll, though.
I didn't say Pete Carroll's the only reason. I said their front office was team consistent. I said their front office though too was also good in terms of making good draft picks, late draft picks. Some
it wasn't
weird
even
ones too.
Office. No, it was not.
In different eras of football, there
was one guy made that team relevant and made that team look special.
Oh, get out of here!
Russell Wilson.
Okay, they had the Legion of Boom there. They were good. They have Richard Sherman there. They had a ton of talent over there.
And they had a chance on Marshawn Lynch when Marshawn Lynch had one good year in Buffalo.
Wagner was there. Wagner's still there. Wagner's still there. They have talent there. That's a crock of
they do have talent there, but the
one
thing
player
is, the organization, you look at the whole thing, Russell Wilson is the face of that organization.
Now he is. When he came to the team, he wasn't. The defense was. The secondary was. They had a tremendous secondary. They had the best safety in football in Thomas. They had arguably the best corner in football. They had Browner there before he got himself into trouble and he had his finger up his ass. I mean,
and he played terribly with the Saints.
I mean, it did. Honestly, when you look at the Seattle Seahawks, I don't like the organization. I never liked the organization. I think they're poorly run, and they take guesses. They've hit on a lot of their late-round draft picks, and in their first 2 or 3 rounds, they guess on it. I think they, spin the wheel, make the deal.
Yeah, they draft weird in the first round, or they trade back a lot.
They always reach.
Wheel of fortune with them.
Always reach.
Yeah, well.
But then at the same time, they also could get value in guys like Metcalf, too, in the second round, which nobody expected to fall.
Who they drafted a couple years ago? Didn't they just bring back Irvin, who they drafted in the first round years ago?
Yeah, they've been doing that for years.
I don't think Irvin was a bad reach, though, in comparison to some of the others.
But they've been doing that for years. They bring back old talent all the time. And
listen, they didn't take N'Keal Harry. They took DK Metcalf instead.
They're talking about bringing Richard Sherman back. There's stories coming out.
I know.
That's
Not going to happen.
Well,
I
it's
can't
not-
see him going back there.
I don't know. I don't know because he still hasn't signed with anybody. I know the Jets are another
Well,
team.
he said he's going to wait till training camp.
The Raiders are going to overpay him. We all know that's going to happen.
Well, again, the Raiders have not come out. The two teams that I've heard is Seattle and the Jets. So, and in San Francisco, there's a good chance he could go back to San Francisco too. But again, you look at Zach Wilson, you look at Sam Darnold. I thought it was very classless. Whoever posted up, and Sam, if I was Sam Darnold, I would have went over there. Whoever posted it up, I would have taken that out. And by the way, shout out to Jake Asman because he's the one who posted up, and he was It came off his feed where it started to break through Jake Asman's feed on his Twitter, and that's how it started to break like a wildfire. What Sam Darnold did, after he heard that he was traded to the Carolina Panthers, he put on the Carolina Panthers hat. And I wish him nothing but luck wherever he goes. I think Sam Darnold deserves it. I think he's a quality quarterback, and I think he's going to prove himself over there in the NFC. And the Jets are going to have to play him this year.
Yep.
They're going to have to play him this year.
Listen, I never wish bad on anybody. I never do. I don't wish. Two things I don't wish bad on people when they leave, and I don't wish anybody to get hurt. There's two things I never do. I hope for the best for the kid. He seems like a really good kid. He seems like somebody that really wants to learn in this league, and I think can be successful.
Why couldn't he be successful with
time.
us? Why couldn't he be successful with us? Because Jet fans were pushing him out. That's why. That's the honest truth. Just admit it, Jet fans. All you wanted to do was get rid of him because you thought he wasn't the guy. You didn't give him a chance. No Jet fan has given him a chance. And now he's going on to somewhere else where he could succeed. And if he does win a Super Bowl there, or he takes this team to the Super Bowl before Zach Wilson does it for the Jets, I am going to be absolutely pissed off because this is an organization that had a franchise quarterback. Suck for Sam, everybody. Let's suck for the California guy. Surfs up, guys. And then we get Sam Darnold. We get Sam Darnold. We did exactly what the fans wanted, and then all the fans just want to push him out. Say goodbye. Bye, Sammy. Bye. That's all we do. That's all we do as Jet fans is we move on to the next guy. Zach Wilson better be the guy because if he isn't the guy, the Jets fans, not only are they going to attack him, I believe the Jets fans are going to attack him. As soon as he throws 2 or 3 interceptions early into the season, the fans will attack him.
You think he'll be scrutinized more than Darnold if he has a similar long-term trajectory?
As long as he doesn't see ghosts.
The only thing that I like about Zach Wilson that I've heard is he's very, very good under center. He's very, very good as far as a captain, a guy that a lot of players like to follow. And I'm not saying Sam Darnold isn't good at that, but I haven't heard a lot of those things through the sources I know that any of that is fully true. Dan Mater says something over there.
Yes, if they do it, it won't be because of Sam Darnold.
Do what? What is it? What is
Dan, what specifically?
Do
what?
what?
Are you
What are
referring to?
you talking
I'm
about?
guessing he's referring to the booing, maybe. But if the Panthers win a Super Bowl, it won't be because of Sam Darnold.
And that has. I would think it's probably the Super Bowl.
I mean, right now the offense is a lot better than the defense. So right now you have to judge that as what it is. Christian McCaffrey's there. I know DJ Moore, you've mentioned on your show a lot as a guy that is an up-and-coming guy, and obviously Robbie Anderson. But, yeah, Sam Darnold would be a big reason why, if that's the case, because of
what he could grow
into. Yes,
shout out to Dan Mater. He's one of the guys on our network. Very, very great show, fantasy show, the MD Fantasy Show. So check him out every single Thursdays and Fridays. A great, great show. But I agree. I agree. First of all, a lot of people put down Sam Darnold, and people don't realize that Sam Darnold, if he starts to develop his skills and moves forward with his skill, that he can hit all those totals and all the capabilities that a lot of people believed he was going to be early in his career.
Dan says Jets made the right move. Wilson is the real deal. Yes, he's mentioned that on his show too. He's number 2 quarterback after Trevor Lawrence.
Ray Burgess.
And then Ray Burgess also says Jordan Palmer, brother of Carson Palmer for those who don't know, posted the video. He's been killing Jets organization all offseason. He trains Darnold. Ooh.
Jordan Palmer.
Jordan Palmer, yeah, that's the judgment we're going to go by. I mean, we're
guess
taking quarterback advice from Chris Sims, Jordan Palmer. I mean, this is what does the world come to?
Well, he's a USC guy. That's why.
Yeah, that was what it is. I think he worked with him. He's worked with other quarterbacks too, but look, we just have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. This is the whole thing for Joe Douglas. This hinges on this decision, and he's done well in the draft. We'll see if he gets the most important position right now in the draft. Does he get the quarterback position correct? He's done it well with the other picks in his draft. So, and his undrafted free agents even too.
Right.
He got the kid from Memphis last year, Huff. So,
Ray, to further your comments a little more, I would trust it more if it was his brother Carson Palmer, who has great statistical numbers. I would trust his judgment more than I would trust Jordan's Palmer. And Ray also says he works with Josh Allen as well. All right,
Yes.
maybe that's a good sign. I guess that could be somewhat encouraging, but still, different
They
coaching
did a video
staff.
together on the beach. The
Different-
three of them were working on their footwork.
Him and Sam are very close.
Yes.
In as far as what they were as prospects, they train together in the offseason. They do a lot of work. And listen, you saw what Josh Allen posted after Sam Darnold got traded. Good luck. You're going to a very good organization. And so Josh Allen is very happy for Sam. I just
How
feel.
does Josh Allen know this?
What do you mean?
He's been close with Sam Darnold since
He's
the
been
draft.
No, but
close.
how does he know he's going to a good organization?
Well, because obviously the organization has got one more than the Jets. They were in a Super Bowl 5 years ago. Where have the Jets been?
Yeah,
when was the
Carolina's
last
been
time the Jets have been in a
they've
Super
been a
Bowl?
steadily, not great, but good run organization.
And I'm a
since
Jet
they've existed.
fan.
Yeah.
Where have the Jets gone in the last couple
Oh,
of
I
years?
agree. I think the Jets are a dumpster fire.
So,
But hopefully Joe Douglas turns his thing around. That's what I'm hoping.
well, you're hoping, and that's why every single Jet fan, every single play, every time a quarterback comes in, Mark Sanchez came in, everybody ran him out. Geno Smith came in, everybody ran him out because
Except
nobody.
Kevin Jackson.
Yeah, everybody keeps running these guys out. Everybody keeps running these guys out, and this is a shame when you look at the organization and where the organization is heading. Now, hopefully, they're heading in the right position, but over and over again, Zach Wilson's the guy, Sam Darnold's the guy, Chad Pennington's the guy, and they turn out to be either injury prone or something else that throws everybody off that they're not the guy. By the way,
Dan says he works with Allen by sitting on the bench and on of everything he could hope to be. Yeah, of course. I mean, Josh Allen's has emerged himself into a borderline MVP candidate. He's borderline top 5 quarterback last year. Sure, but who says Sam Darnold can't grow into that with the talent now? Because remember, it took Josh Allen the first year because he didn't have the receivers either, kind of like Darnold. And the second year, he kind of grew later in the season. They were a playoff team with a better offensive line and made some receivers well too. And now Carolina, while their offensive line isn't amazing, it's still better than the Jets were last year and definitely the last 2 years before that. And Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in football when he's healthy, probably.
well, the Panthers just got richer today because they added Boye, who Pro Bowl corner. They added him to their defense today. Signed him, I think, to a 2-year deal where Boye is heading over to Carolina.
He had a bad year with Denver.
1 year
Yeah,
bad, and this guy's still a
He was
top.
a very good corner though with Jacksonville.
Dan says Matt Rule and Joe Brady not miracle workers, and I would agree, but. I would agree that, but again, Sam Darnold just needs to put in the right system with good players around him, which he has Robbie Anderson there. He's got 2 really good wide receivers on the other sides of the field and a good slot receiver, and they could go after Pitt at number 8 and really solidify their offense. If you put Pitts there.
Speaking of Pitts, Dan said he'll only eat his words if they draft Pitts. Yeah, and that gives them a lot more leeway now to do that.
At 8.
Because, one, they still need a lot on defense, but now they could, because they didn't have to trade the second pick, because a lot of people thought that Sam Darnold would spawn that second-round pick or even the third-round pick. Now they could afford to take the best player available if he's there, which I think at that point, with Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase likely gone at that point, he would be the best player available in that case.
Well, they don't need a wide receiver, so.
No, I don't think they should either. I'm just saying that's their judgment of best player available. I agree. I think they would either drafted another quarterback or traded back if they didn't have Darnold.
By the way, the 49ers to watch Justin Fields throw at the OSU's, which is Ohio State University's second pro day. So now a lot of people are starting to sway where the 49ers might be looking at Justin Fields. Now, there are stories coming out of New England that the Patriots have been talking to the Falcons, the Atlanta Falcons, to move up to number 4. If Justin Fields falls out at number 3, that there's a good chance that the Patriots can move up to get Justin Fields, who I still think is the best quarterback in this class.
I know they're going to the pro day for Fields, San Francisco, because they missed his pro day before because they went to Mac Jones's pro day, which I don't know how when you schedule that, you make them both on the same day. I think that's crazy. How I think it's on both days. That's how it really ends up being. I mean, scheduling wise, how you don't figure out ways to fix that. It really intrigues me. Look, there's going to be people that are going to say Justin Fields might be the best quarterback in this draft. I think what worries people is
yours
his
truly
arm
thinks that. I've been thinking that from the beginning.
His arm motion, they say it's a little slow. That's the only problem. They don't think he gets the ball quick enough, and he doesn't read the field as well as like Wilson and Lawrence.
I don't think it's as bad as people think, though.
No, I don't think
he's not the prototypical quick release guy that I think a lot of these analytic coordinators now want, and because they're really not overusing, but prioritizing more completion percentage. Dan says, as a 49ers fan, I request a full hour to rant on WWSRN if they traded up to take Mac Jones. Yeah, you can have at it and vent. If that happens.
Definitely allowed if they traded all that to go get Mac Jones.
Well, hold on 1 second. I know a lot of people don't like it. And if Mac Jones does go to the 49ers, because he's not the big superstar like Justin Fields or Zach Wilson or even Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be the predominant number one pick, that they don't think that Mac Jones can't succeed over there with the 49ers and become the best quarterback in this class. He's got the ability. He can throw in the pocket. He's got the accuracy and the consistency to throw. I don't care if he played for Alabama. I don't care what he had around him. He made the throws. That's all that matters. And he was very accurate. Okay, so say whatever you want. He was the second or the most accurate quarterback in the NCAA in the last 2 seasons.
But you didn't have to necessarily trade up to 3, though, in order to do that, though, I would imagine. I think Dan was referencing on his show, too. Why not just try to trade up with Miami or trade up to a little bit to maybe steal him from the Panthers before they traded for Darnold? Like, I think them making the leap to 3, it seems evident that Fields probably is their guy. But again, the timing of it is very weird, and it should be the case. And Dan actually seconds that. The problem is you could have gotten him at 6, and it's just a younger version of Jimmy G, which, that could be true too.
He's more accurate than Jimmy G. He's a much more accurate quarterback than Jimmy G. Even when Jimmy G came out of college, this kid, if you look at his accuracy, even for 20 yards or more, he is the second most accurate quarterback coming out of this draft class. Better than Trevor Lawrence, better than Justin Fields. He's neck and neck with Zach Wilson. So, and Trey Lance is not even close to any of these guys.
Yeah, well, Trey Lance only played the 1 year too, just like Zach Wilson.
I think he only played in the one game anyway. No. He only played in the one game this past year. And again, you know, we always talk about it's weird. Everybody always brings up, well, who did Zach Wilson face? Who did he go up against scheduling wise? And
I don't hold that against him.
No, and nobody should, because the thing of it is this: Josh Allen went to
Wyoming. Mountain West competition, right?
Carson Wentz went to North Dakota State.
But North Dakota State's one of the best FCS schools, though, too. That's not really a good argument.
What'd you say?
North Dakota State's actually one of the best FCS schools, though, so that really defeats the argument there.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it defeats the argument because you're still making players around you better that aren't first-round talented players.
Right, but you're also not playing FBS teams all the time either. North Dakota State won one game against, I think, Iowa in 2017.
But what's BYU then, though?
BYU's independent, and they play mostly Mountain West competition, some Pac-12
Carl's
competition.
Writing right over here.
Carl says, does Bridgewater serve as an expensive backup due to his cap hit, and no one will trade for him now? That'd be funny if Bridgewater and Darnold reunited 3 years later.
It looks like Teddy Bridgewater will be there unless some other team decides to pounce on him.
He's been trying to facilitate a trade. They're letting him facilitate a trade. I just don't know anybody that's going to take on the salary.
He'll end up back with the Saints.
Some portion of it.
Well, there could be a few teams that could be interested in him, the Bears being one of them.
I'll take him if I'm the Jets.
Take him. The Jets aren't bringing him in. They're not bringing in a quarterback that they're going to pay.
Fine, let him be the veteran quarterback.
I bring Alex Smith in. If I'm bringing in a veteran quarterback, I bring in Alex Smith to be my leader. You play Alex Smith the first 2 games, get him acclimated, understanding the offense and see the offense. Plus, he played in the San Francisco 49er offense. And, not the Kyle Shanahan offense, but he played. It doesn't matter. He was in San Francisco.
It's all the same thing. They're all connected.
It's a West Coast offense. That's what it is. So
not only that, you really saw the culture really change with Washington last year when he was there. Even if he didn't play all the time, you really saw a lot of those players rally around him too. Which the Jets, people have said this for years, are looking for that culture change. You could bring in all these free agents you want, you could bring in all these higher profile guys from top 5 picks you want. The culture is what is a big issue with a lot of these dysfunctional organizations that have been in the past. And Alex Smith was that guy for Washington, who we thought of as one of those dysfunctional organizations too. Helped change that culture. Obviously, they weren't a great team, but they were still a playoff team, and the players really rallied around that. And who says that doesn't have the same effect with the Jets too?
I think. Go ahead, Josh.
No. Go ahead. I was good.
No. Go ahead.
I think the whole thing is just crazy with the veteran. I think, Arrow, we talked about this actually, I think, the other day off the air. The Jets have to stop drafting these quarterbacks, I feel like, and starting them right away. They have to stop.
Hold
doing
on.
that.
Hold on.
They have to stop doing
First
that.
of all, if you have Zach Wilson, he's the most NFL ready. You're going to start him. You should start him. You have the players. First of all, you have these guys that you paid a lot of money this offseason. You brought in the Lawson. You're ready. They're trying to win now. Maybe they're not winning no Super Bowl, but they're going to try to make the playoffs this year. They are, especially with the extra team making the playoffs, with the extra game this year. They still, with their schedule this year, they quite possibly could win 9 to 10 games this year and squeak into the playoffs. And it's anybody's ball game when they make the playoffs. Okay, so Zach Wilson is already walking into a dumpster fire, and what I mean by that is you're going to a team that is expected to be competitive this year, not be an okay team or a better 2-win team this year. They're expected to win 7, 8, possibly 9 or 10 games this year. And if he doesn't do that, and the fans are going to want, and I'm telling you right now, I don't care what the fans say. I don't care what anybody says about the whole Sam. Look what they did to Sam Darnold. Look what the fans did to Sam Darnold. And now you have a guy from BYU who has ADD or ADHD who's already has a problem concentrating, and then he's going to have to deal with the fans and what the fans are going to do to him if he doesn't play well. So I hope for Zach Wilson to step up, and that's why I think Justin Fields fits better coming to the New York Jets. Yeah. Being that he has had the lights on him since day one, since he came out of high school. He was the number one predominant quarterback out of that recruitment class. And now all of a sudden, I still think he is the number one guy out of this class going into the draft. And he fits better right now with the Jets than going after a guy like Zach Wilson, where you're unsure, iffy, where he is going to be moving forward as the Jets' starting quarterback.
Are you worried about him with the 1 year, though, too, with Zach Wilson? Him only playing... I mean, he played more than 1 year, but this was his first
I don't think that
breakout year.
matters.
Because I was going to say, Joe Burrow with that same thing, and he's been just fine so far before the injury.
That doesn't matter to me. I mean, look, everybody... I'll be upfront with you. I have ADHD, and for me, with my...
We know that.
Sometimes... No, I'm being serious.
I'm being serious, too.
Diagnosed with it. I mean, it's something that I had to grow up with and had to get through my entire life. I had to go through a lot of stuff with therapy and everything like that to help with it and work on my concentration skills and everything like that. It is a very difficult thing to overcome, but clearly he's made strides with it, and it has shown that on his videotape, it has shown that in his highlights, it has shown that in his gameplay. The biggest thing that I get from him is he's a leader. He's a leader in the huddle. And that was the one thing I wish Sam would just take control of that huddle at
How
time.
do you expect him to take control when you have nobody around him to tell him where to go? Nobody.
He was never around to tell anybody where to go. He was head
I would be Cuckooville if I had Adam Gase as my head coach. Give me a break. You gave him nothing.
Hold on a second. Wasn't Sam also the one that he was in the interview process, and he actually is the one he flat out said
he didn't want Adam get out of here.
I liked Adam.
That's
Gase
a crock. That is a crock, and everybody knows that was a crock.
He said it.
It was Christopher Johnson, Mr. Cuckoo Eyes himself, number 2, who chose him.
He said those words.
Nobody in the right mind would have chosen him, just as much as I didn't want Mike McCarthy either. I didn't want any of those guys.
Well, the guy I wanted was Rule at the time.
Yeah, well, Matt Rule looked good in the beginning of the season, fell off in the second half of the season. Carl Falk says Mac Jones or Giants quarterback.
Can I pick neither, Carl?
I like Daniel Jones.
We know.
I like Mac Jones because Mac Jones is more an accurate passer. He doesn't drop the ball a lot. He holds on to the ball. Mac Jones doesn't have any deficiencies except outside the pocket and moving. I mean, he's not
I just don't know if he has much upside.
He's not a mobile but either was Joe Burrows. Joe Burrows wasn't a mobile quarterback. He was a pocket-present quarterback, and he showed that he could play in this league before he got hurt. I think that Mac Jones is just like Joe Burrows, has the arm strength, has the ability to throw in the pocket inside and out, make every single throw as he showed in both his pro days. I think he could be very successful in the league no matter where he goes. And I'm telling you right now, all 5 of these quarterbacks could be successful, depending on where they go and what they put around them. Sam Darnold, to me, him and Josh Rosen really got thrown to the wolves. Baker Mayfield, look at the talent that he had around him when he got that job. And then
Baker didn't even start right away either. It took him the 2 games.
Lamar Jackson went to one of the best organizations in all of football in Baltimore. And then you look at guys like Josh Allen. Josh Allen, yes, he had a talented defense around him, and they put the right coach around him when he was a rookie.
Right.
Who did Sam have?
Technically,
bad coach,
Darnold,
bad talent around.
Yeah, technically Darnold was the only one that started right away, too. Because remember, Baker had the 2 games he missed. I think Allen had a couple games that he missed. He didn't start right away either. Josh Rosen definitely didn't start right away. And Lamar Jackson didn't start till week 10 or whatever it was and took over that team. They made the playoffs.
I think my underwear would have done better than half half the coaches the Jets had as the coach for Sam Darnold. I feel bad for Sam Darnold because he didn't get the right talent around him, and that's why Jet fans were attacking him. And I want to hear from Eric Martini or any of you Jet fans out there that want to put down this guy because he never really had the chance to fly. He didn't have the chance to be the Jet that we thought he was going to be. Everybody wanted suck for Sam. And then you have guys, I've been on so many other Jet shows where everybody said, oh, I can't, if we could get Sam Darnold, we're going to be set for a very, very long time. 3 years later, they run him out of here. He's going to Carolina.
Let me ask this. What if the Jets got the number 1 pick? Would you would have been fine if they traded Sam, though?
No. If they would have had the number 1 pick, what I would have done is I would have drafted either Trevor Lawrence or I would have traded back and tried to get so many assets because you could have gotten a slew. You see Miami get the assets that they got at the 3rd pick.
They would have gotten slaughtered for that.
They would have gotten 5 or 6 first-round draft picks for the number 1 pick.
The Jets would have gotten so slaughtered if they made
slaughtered for
not
what?
necessarily. Not if those players turn into something.
They let Trevor Lawrence.
Look at the draft, and I want to get off the Jets because there's so much more to talk about with football. How about the whole Deshaun Watson thing? And I think that it's starting to heat up. This whole Deshaun Watson thing is starting to really heat up. Now Nike has parted ways with him with the contract that they have with him. Beats is parting ways with him. I feel bad because if this isn't true, this has really affected Deshaun Watson's career and where he thought he was going to go in the offseason because he wanted out of the Texans. What is the Texans going to do? And if it is true that ownership and the GM is the one that threw him under the bus to try to protect themselves on trading him or trying to keep him in some kind of way, it's a shame because this kid is, I believe, the best all-around quarterback in the NFL. I really do believe that. Go look at the team, go look at his numbers, and go look at the players he threw to last year. This guy was the best quarterback, I believe, in the league last year, and he's thrown into a dumpster file just like Sam Darnold is with O'Brien and all the different talent that he had. He had Hopkins. Hopkins goes to Arizona. He's achieving what he is with Kyler Murray. Now you have AJ Green there.
David Johnson was awesome.
Oh yeah, it was a great
Bill
trade.
O'Brien, best GM of all time.
How about what the Miami Dolphins have done with that? The offensive lineman.
Tunsil.
Yeah. Laremy Tunsil, man. They turned Laremy Tunsil. It's, I think,
5 first-round draft picks.
5 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 2/3.
Crazy. And Tunsil's no slouch, but he ain't worth 5 first-round draft picks.
He's not worth 2 first-round draft picks.
Right. And he wasn't worth the number 1 overall pick that everybody thought he was a consensus being before that.
He's better off smoking marijuana.
Yeah. You could take the gas mask picture for that one. So in the end, that picture saved the Miami Dolphins when you look at it.
that picture should be cemented in something if the Miami Dolphins win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, pretty much. I got the whole train rolling at that point.
I just think that Deshaun Watson has been really thrown to the wolves. I don't know if this is true, and if it is true, I feel bad for those women. But it's hard to believe that over 20 women had this and been sexually harassed by this guy. I don't believe it. Maybe 1 or 2, and now everybody's coming out. It's become a monopoly of money that he is going to have to spend this offseason to try to protect himself or keep him. Some people are saying that the FBI is looking into it, and if it is true, he can go to jail. He can go to jail.
Right. Maybe, look, maybe he was an addict.
Somebody is writing.
Somebody from our network is writing.
Hold on, Josh. Hold on.
It's starting to get.
You have to read what people are writing to us.
It is starting to get Bill Cosby-esque. Hard to know if he will even play another down in the NFL. Yes, of course, we know that's going to happen. But again, the investigation is going to go on for a while. There's allegations now on both sides. It's not just the negative anymore, where a lot of these women are coming out and saying a lot of them are faking it or they're not true, kind of thing. And if Errol, what he said about the ownership, if that ends up being something that's connected to it, then that looks really bad on the organization. All the ownership, all that front office should be forced to resign from their positions.
It was Dan, by the way. Dan, sorry.
Dan, okay.
Switched.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan, for that. If that happens with the Texans front office and ownership, they all should be forced to sell the team. They all should be forced to get out of any NFL profession, kind of like what we saw with Donald Sterling or anything like that. If they pushed him out like that, force him out, that is a really bad look on the organization, and I don't think anyone's going to want to play there if that's the case, because that really shows that nobody can be trusted, no matter how good of a player you are. And we know, like Errol was saying, Deshaun Watson, when healthy, is a top 3 quarterback in the league right now.
Oh, he absolutely is. He absolutely is. And Josh, what were you going to say? And I just want to let you know before we are reading off everything. If people aren't going to call, and you can call our show at 631-500-0548. Again, it's 631-500-0548. We're going to have a second line by next week where 2 people could actually call at the same time and argue their points with us. But that is Dan Mader from the MD Fantasy Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio and Belly Up Sports. But go ahead, Josh. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say before, I mean, you look at it this way. We were talking about the thing, even with like, maybe he was an addict. Maybe even with Tiger Woods. Look, Tiger Woods had an issue and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine 22 of them all being true. Maybe you said 1 or 2 of them are true.
I don't know.
It could be more than that, too. It's just still a lot. It's a lot,
if 2 of them are true, then it's still a bad look. And that's you would – I would – I mean, right now – if you're any organization, I mean, you saw it. The Jets have given up, I think, trying to get him. The Panthers have given up trying to
Everybody
get him.
has.
Right.
Everybody has. I mean, it's how poorly the Houston Texans managed to screw this up, because they could have traded this guy a month and a half, 2 months.
They didn't want to trade him because I think they had a lot to do with it. I think that these rumors had a lot to do with them.
And if that ends up happening, that is worse than anything than the Browns or the Jets ever did.
Yeah, I think the owner might be throwing him under the bus too. First off, I mean, but the thing of it is that you had this about a month and a half, 2 months ago. They could have gotten a king's ransom for him, and they held off on doing it. And now we don't even know if he's even going to be able to play again. And of course, I think it's a character sabotage as well. Look, some of them have to be true, right? I mean, you can't tell me there's 22 lies here. There has to be a few of them that are true. There's no way that all of them are false.
Well, when one falls, everything falls. And I think
Kobe Bryant could be connected too.
Again, I'm going to go back to Kobe Bryant and what Kobe Bryant did. After Kobe Bryant got out of trouble and he had to pay off the girl, even though a lot of people believe that she was sleeping with 6 or 7 guys, because there were 6 or 7 different semens on her underwear when they were investigating her underwear, and they did a whole thing on that. After Kobe Bryant predominantly got out of that situation, there were people that actually were reaching out and saying that Kobe Bryant was doing things to them. And there were so many different stories. This is always it. It falls together and it falls off like a Monopoly or even dominoes. Anybody play domino? Once one domino falls, all of them fall. They go down together. And I think right now with Deshaun Watson, he's losing all his endorsements. I feel bad for this kid, because if this story isn't true, this guy's career is in a state of flux. I mean, unfortunately, this is what happens when you're in front of the media, you're in front of the press, you're in front of the world, and you're a multimillionaire now. And now these women or these people are going to try to rob you and take until you have nothing. But I feel bad for the kid, because I don't think that any of these endorsements should put it on hold. Not take away the contract from him, because you don't know if it's true or if it's not.
Well, I think he'll get that back quickly, though, if they do end up finding anything about it.
I can't feel bad for anybody yet, because I don't know what all the facts are. I don't know what's true, what's not true. That's the thing. Of course, whatever the truth comes out, you feel bad for those people. I can't say I feel bad for Deshaun Watson, because, God forbid, they might all be true, which would be I mean, geez.
He's going to go to jail.
He's got a massage.
He's going to go to jail if it is true. If he has 20 to 25 counts of sexual harassment and the FBI gets involved with this, which more than likely is going to eventually happen if some of these stories come to fruition, and I believe they are, if they find anything to be true, he can go to jail. He can lose everything right at the blink of his eye. Look what happened with Baker. That wasn't the whole story with Baker, the cornerback from the New York Giants. He was a first-round draft pick. The Giants moved up all the way to get him, and then all of a sudden, the stories came out that he robbed this guy, and so did his partner. And then it came out, that it wasn't true. It was a lie. That the guy that supposedly claimed that these guys robbed lied about it because he was trying to get insurance money, and now this guy's career is over. The Giants got rid of him. Now he's playing on a practice team right now in the NFL.
I think the Chiefs, yeah.
He might never get a chance to be the player that everybody thought he was going to be because he got wrongly accused. He should sue the NFL. He should sue the Giants for what they did to him and how they prosecuted him.
Quentin Dunbar, I think, who was his partner in that, got a job right away after that.
Yeah, he did. He got signed, I think, a week later.
I think Seattle, then he got cut by them and then went to Washington or something like that, or Oakland, or the Vegas Raiders. He got a job right away after that. So it's obvious if something like that could happen with Quentin Dunbar. And obviously DeAndre Baker was a promising rookie first-round pick. It's definitely going to be with Deshaun Watson. It's just a matter of if he'll get his wish, 1 and 2. Obviously, whatever's going to happen with the Texans. Because I think the Texans, either way, no matter what happens, even if it's a good thing for the Watson allegations, I think they're screwed either way.
It's almost like, because again, I think Baker ended up with the Chiefs. Am I
yes,
correct?
He's on the Chiefs practice squad.
He's on their practice squad.
Yep.
I think it is. I think teams just get frightened. They get scared of the PR. They don't want to have to deal with it because there's sometimes they're like, oh my God, this happened. We don't want to have to deal with this nonsense. So they
much more magnified on a quarterback too.
No, I mean, it just comes into play when right away somebody gets arrested. They just don't. All right, we're going to wipe our hands clean of this. We don't want to do anything about this. We don't want to even be a part of this. He's out or she's out if something happens, blah, blah, blah.
Well, if that's the case, why did the Nike over the last couple of years, they've been obviously prosecuted because they have a guy that worked with the United States Olympic team. And I watched this on Real Sports, Brian Gumbel's show on HBO, and how I forget the guy's name. One of the trainers was feeding them and giving them steroids or giving them HGH and doing all this other stuff, trying to hide all this. That Nike knew about this, and then all of a sudden he still has a job. He still works for Nike. And some of these people, some of these athletes that lost their opportunities to play in to run in the Olympics or swim in the Olympics because of these allegations, they blame Nike. What's so funny, Speedy? What are you giggling about?
No, I'm not giggling.
I just think it's a crock. I think, why is Nike suspending Deshaun Watson? You don't even know if it's true or not. You're suspending his endorsements, and then Nike has a guy right now who was suspended, still getting paid, still on their salary, still on everything, and he's getting thrown. He's getting thrown a bone. He's getting thrown a bone.
That's even worse for Olympic athletes because they have a really short track record too. They only get sometimes 2, maybe 3 times at best if you're that top Olympic athlete too. So that looks really bad. This is the same Nike company that had all that shadiness too with the NCAA and the Zion Williamson thing. Yeah, that's not a good look for them either. If you're doing it to Olympians now, especially young ones like that.
It's just, like I said, I'm still trying to just picture it in my head, and I agree with everything Errol is saying, that there's just certain aspects of people that they turn a blind eye. That's what it comes down to in society, is that they just, if they don't have like the popularity of like, I don't know, like a Deshaun Watson, then I guess they maybe just it's not going to be as big of a deal to them. But with a name like Deshaun Watson, they're going to wipe their hands clean of it, which I just don't agree with. If it happens to one person, it should happen to the other person as well. Nobody's any different. I just think it's, just the Deshaun Watson thing still blows my mind when I hear 22 people.
Well, this is what happens.
That's what I'm speechless about it.
This is what happens when somebody gets thrown into the wolves. The wolves are trying to look for as much meat as they possibly can to chew off the bone, and that's what it is. Right now, Deshaun Watson is all bone. There's nothing that he can do or get himself out of this trouble. Now he's got to decide what he's going to do with his season this year. Is he going to play for the Texans this year? Is he going to sit out for the whole season like he said he was going to do? Or is the Texans going to trade him and not get much back for him, which could happen with the Bears? Because I could see the Bears really winning on this because Carolina has walked away from it. They got Sam Darnold. You saw what San Francisco did. They're getting a top quarterback, so they're not going to do it. You have all these other teams that have really watched it. Miami might, but they got Tua, and I was reading off some of the blogs on the Miami pages that they do not want to lose Tua. A lot of these Miami fans think that Tua is going to be the quarterback of the future of this organization, and he is going to be a superstar guy and a guy that they can depend on. I beg to differ on that, but again, I am not the owner of the organization, and maybe Miami is going to. And Miami has a slew of first-round draft picks now after trading back to 12 to move all the way to 6. They're still going to get the wide receiver that they want, and they still added 2 first-round draft picks. So I think they solidified themselves and set themselves up very, very well.
Executive of the year, and Chris Greer showing himself again.
I mean, honestly, you look at the big picture and where the NFL is going. The AFC East is set up very, very strong for the future because you have Zach Wilson there in that division. You have Josh Allen. I do believe the Patriots are going to do anything they can to try to get either Justin Fields or Trey Lance. And believe me, I believe the Patriots are going to get one, either Trey Lance or Justin Fields in the first round. One way or another, they're getting one or the other.
That Fields rumor is very interesting for Atlanta, though, too. If they don't, because they don't have to take a quarterback. They obviously could, especially with him being from Georgia. But
what do the Patriots have to give up from 15 to 4?
Well, yeah, they're going to have to give up a lot, which they don't normally do. But Atlanta is also a team that needs to take on a lot, and that's why I always said that they should be having that pick as a big option to trade back. Now, whether they trade back to 15 and get a bigger haul back with individual picks is another question, because they obviously would get more in terms of like future first round picks, which they definitely need too. But again, you're also trusting it from the Patriots perspective. Are they going to be bad forever? Bill Belichick's still there. When is he going to retire too? So it's a very interesting dilemma that they're going to have too. And I just think they really need all the assets that they can get too. So that pick is going to become a lot more valuable, especially if somebody like the Patriots wants Fields, and if Fields definitely falls like a lot of these analysts are thinking for some reason.
I just think it goes back to the situation of, where do the Falcons view a guy like Kyle Pitts? Do they view Kyle Pitts as the game changer for maybe Matt Ryan and solidifying, maybe bringing this offense back to where it once was? I don't know. I don't think it will. I just think that the situation is going to be in regards to where it is,
Dan is saying something interesting on the feed.
So Dan says Atlanta has to call Denver. Yes, I can see that too, because the Broncos did well in free agency in improving their defense in terms of improving their secondary. They still could use some pass rush help, but they're definitely another team.
Talking about the quarterback. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah. No, I know that. But like I was saying with the Panthers also.
If Denver's going to move up to 4, they want the quarterback.
No, I know that. And that gives them leeway to do that because of how well they did in free agency. Now they can go after it. Because the Broncos are not an untalented team. They have a lot of young offensive players, a lot of young receivers.
Do you like Fangio as the coach, though?
I don't mind him. I
hate him. He's so old school for me.
He's a defensive-minded coach. And I just don't think if you're going to bring in a young quarterback, you have a young quarterback there right now. He's not going to flourish over there because he's not an offense. And who's the offensive coordinator there? I don't even know who the offensive coordinator is.
No, that's where I think is more old school than Vic Fangio himself, because Vic Fangio has really evolved into modern defenses as well too, where that's why he was so successful as a coordinator too in many different eras of football that we saw with his defense. So I don't know if he's as old school, but yeah, the coordinators are. Dan says combined with Shermer. Oh, with Pat Shermer, he is fine. Well, one can only hope with Pat Shermer. I learned that as a Giants fan.
He's a good offensive coordinator. You saw what he did with Minnesota.
Yeah, he was good.
I didn't say it was bad. I'm just saying, like,
listen, guys are good coordinators and they're bad head coaches. It happens all the time. That's just the way it is. But I mean, look, I think Drew Lock is in way over his head in that team in Denver. I think.
How do we know that? How do we know that? Because he couldn't stay healthy last year, and when he was healthy, they were better.
4 or 5 games of his rookie year, he was really good. And then people were stamping him as they think he was going to be a top 15 quarterback, even top 10 quarterback. With
the receivers they got, yeah.
And then he just fell flat on his face, and then the injuries happened, and it was just like, all right, that's it. We got to give up on him. But that's the business, right? It's what have you done for me lately? The recency bias.
Well, yeah.
So that's what it always comes down to in this league.
I've never been a big fan of Drew Lock as an overall talent, but he still was putting up good numbers with lesser receivers. Yes, we know. But he was still putting up good numbers with those lesser receivers and got better receivers when it came to drafting Judy last year, drafting KJ Hamler. And a lot of those guys, one, had injury issues, and two, the quarterbacks had their own injury issues. They had that whole COVID issue. They had the one game against the Saints where they had to play a wide receiver as a quarterback.
Oh, man, that was something else.
Those were very, very strange circumstances, and again, what was a very strange year with COVID-19. So, they have the leniency to go after a quarterback if they don't think Lock's the guy, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're obligated, though, to either because they have the offensive skill players. They don't
think Lock's the guy. They really don't, because anything that everybody's reading, I read a lot of blogs, and that's what I do. I skim through different teams and different organizations, and also who follows our Instagram. And by the way, we broke I think we have 2,300 followers now on Instagram. I read a lot of the posts that the different bloggers are sending through our feed, and a lot of them, I saw the Broncos, they are looking for a quarterback, and there were stories coming out that Deshaun Watson was pushing himself possibly to the Broncos, and then obviously with the stuff going on with Deshaun Watson, I don't think the Broncos are going to be looking at Deshaun Watson anytime soon. Right. So now you're looking at the position, and the Falcons, they actually think that Matt Ryan has another 2, maybe 3 years left in his arm strength. Maybe they decide, you know what, 3 years from now, it's going to take 3 years for another good quarterback class. We could still ride with Matt Ryan. We can build around Matt Ryan and try to win or make another attempt to win a Super Bowl, or trade Julio Jones and try to solidify some of the youth that we have on a team, like the Ridleys of the world, and maybe go after another wide receiver in the draft.
But that's the thing. Like, wouldn't you want to salvage that and getting a guy like Kyle Pitts then?
Do they need targets, though? I mean, as good as Pitts is.
Kyle Pitts is not good enough to go at 4.
Not only.
No, I agree with
I don't.
you.
Not only that, Atlanta needs too much on
way
defense.
Overhyping him. I mean, I think that's
no, I think he's good. I just don't.
Go top 10.
I'm not drafting a tight end in the top 5.
Not when you need that much on defense like Atlanta.
Yeah, but that's
does.
the funny thing is every single guru keeps saying he's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body, and I'm like, but he's.
I wouldn't draft a wide receiver if he's a tight end.
You have to judge the Falcons situation, though, the most. There are teams that maybe in that same situation could have done it. There's really no team in that top 5 that is going to be able to do that. Now, top 10 is a different story, where we're seeing now Carolina and Miami could do it. If they don't want a wide receiver, they could draft Pitts.
Oh, no, Miami's going to take Chase. I mean, they'd be stupid if they don't take Chase.
I agree, but I'm just saying that's still that option there. Atlanta doesn't really have that because they have enough targets already. Even when Julio Jones was hurt at times last year, even some of their other young receivers, Brandon Albert Powell, whatever his name is, stepped up at the slot. They had the one with the long name that really stepped up. And Ridley proved he was a number 1 after having a really down year his sophomore year. So I don't think targets are really the issue with Atlanta's offense. They really need more with the running game and definitely with the defense, where outside of Deion Jones and a couple young Grady Jarrett and a couple young defensive backs, they don't really have much there.
I think it's very, very interesting when you look at the draft in the top 10 and this could be the first time we've seen 5 quarterbacks go in the first 10 picks. Just think about it. You're talking about 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4 and then 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10. I don't think that's ever happened. And we've never, the first time we've seen 5 quarterbacks get drafted, or 5 or 6 quarterbacks get drafted in the first round, was the Sam Darnold draft. So that's the first time we've seen that. So it's so crazy with how these quarterbacks, and next year with the quarterbacks and the year after, what team needs a quarterback now? Except maybe if the Giants don't believe in Daniel Jones and Gettleman's gone, or the Bears, or maybe Seattle if Russell Wilson is gone. How many teams are going to need a quarterback?
But Russell Wilson also be somewhere else,
too.
What
about Pittsburgh, too?
Pittsburgh,
right? But Russell Wilson will also be in one of those spots too, I would imagine. Unless then, if Russell Wilson goes to a different team, then their quarterback will get traded. So the cycle's going to continue. Errol's right. There's a lot of capable starting quarterbacks that are backups right now.
Yeah, and I think Haskins. If you look at the Haskins position, the Pittsburgh believes that Haskins might be the future quarterback. Maybe sitting behind a guy like Ben Roethlisberger for a year or two, if Ben is going to be there, where he can
learn the offense,
understand where the position is. I don't know. I don't know what Haskins is.
Defense.
Well, recreate who he is as a player. Recreate the defense. Haskins is a quarterback. Recreate who he is as a player on the field. So, because right now he's not in anything. So, by the way,
Dan says NFL narrative: you have to get your guy. Yes, to some extent, yes, but there's also teams that have done that where they've done super quick overhauls that aren't necessary, though, too. I brought up the Raiders earlier. They had a very talented roster on paper and then started purging assets. Atlanta, I was referring to how many players they cut last offseason, and now all of a sudden they dropped off. The Vikings did the same thing, even though they didn't drop off as badly.
The Vikings are a team that'll probably look for a future quarterback.
They could, too. I'm just saying.
Cousins, how many more years does Cousins have with them?
Two. He signed a 2-year deal.
He signed a 2-year extension.
Yeah, Dan, you're agreeing. Not always smart. Yeah, there's a lot of these teams that take too much extreme approaches. Now, obviously, some of them work. We saw what Cleveland has done, rebuilding with all the draft picks they had. The Dolphins. What about them?
They drafted a quarterback in the second round.
I know they did, but are they real?
They believe in him because they wouldn't have traded Carson Wentz. They wouldn't have traded Carson Wentz. You're talking, and Carson Wentz.
They do weird things though too. The Eagles.
Carson Wentz is going to succeed over there with Frank Reich because.
I agree with you. I think he's going to kill it in Indianapolis,
especially in that division. A division where it's capable of winning. Jacksonville, even adding Urban Meyer, and even with Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence. You're going to see Trevor Lawrence is going to make. He's made a big mistake going into this year's draft or not demanding that he doesn't want to play for Jacksonville. He would have had a better chance of have succeeded with the Jets or San Francisco or any of those other teams than going to Jacksonville with that team.
Dan says they want to see what he can do this season, referring to Jalen Hurts. Yeah, I think that's most likely the case. I'm just saying, look at the Eagles' track record. They have a history of doing those quick fixes, those very weird things that we were referring to. Look at when Chip Kelly got fired, like Howie Roseman literally traded every asset imaginable. That was him. That they rebuilt the team in 2 years. They out of nowhere won a Super Bowl. So they definitely do weird things. You saw with Michael Vick and LaShawn McCoy, that whole 2011 team, the Dream Team. The Eagles do weird things. So I think that's the most likely case. I'm just saying I wouldn't rule it out because they are a very strange and crazy organization sometimes.
They're beyond strange and crazy. I'm just not really that sort. The thing is, I mean, look, Hurts has been in the league for a year.
Yep.
So
he looked really good. He looked really good when he did play.
He did. He looked. The thing about him is he looked like he had confidence, which was a huge thing. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the Washington football team is doing with their quarterback situation. I mean, they're another. You keep thinking of all these teams that need quarterbacks, though. And that's why, remember, we said it on the Weekend Crunch even. This was, Errol, you said it. You watched football for years. You never saw anything like this ever in an offseason where you saw all these names coming out and about, being traded, being rumored, being looked at. And it's going to be crazy to see how many teams have new quarterbacks next year. I mean, you're looking at, with the draft, with Wentz going to Indy, 7, 8, 9 teams, I think, having new quarterbacks next year. You're looking at it. It's insane to have that high of a number for a new season. You usually maybe see 3 or 4 new quarterbacks. You don't usually see 9 new teams or 10 new teams getting quarterbacks. And it's
What did Dan say?
Works out.
What did Dan say?
Dan says Terry McLaurin, top 12 wide receiver in fantasy with Fitzmagic. I definitely agree. And he has some weeks he's going to be top 5 too. Like, that's how good he could be.
Yeah, but here's the problem. They don't have that other guy. And that's why I think the Washington football team has to find that second-tier guy as their wide receiver. Jalen Hurts being where he is. Where is Washington drafting?
15. No, not 15. 19.
19. So Jalen
Waddle.
Jalen Waddle might not even be on the board anymore. So there are still plenty of good wide receivers that you can get in the second and third round. And I think if they can get a quality, who's that slot receiver that everybody says is going to be good? That could be drafted in the second or third round has high praise.
Rondell Moore's one. Elijah Moore. There's a couple of them. Rashad Bateman, yeah, there's a couple of them kind of
Curtis
similar.
Samuel, I remember them just signing. I don't trust.
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, he could be there at 19
Is
too.
it Toney from Florida?
Yeah, because he was getting a lot of hype towards the end of the season. Yeah, Dan brought up Curtis Samuel.
They're saying top 15. I think he's going to go now.
I don't know about that. But
that's crazy. I mean, but
a lot because of the other thing too is a lot of the receivers have fallen in recent.
Dan
drafts,
said Curtis Samuel, and he's a very competent player. Again, Curtis Samuel I think he's coming from Carolina.
Carolina, I believe.
Carolina, who yes, he played well for Carolina, but
yes, he did.
To me, going to another team, playing with another offense, and being he was. A lot of people thought Curtis Samuel was the number one guy over there before Robbie Anderson. Is he a number 1 or a number 2 guy, or is he a number 3 guy?
He's a slot gadget guy.
Yeah, so I don't know, and I think Washington needs more offensive weapons because they can't win with the offense that they have. They can't.
Right. They need more of that true receiver type. They have it with Curtis Samuel and Antonio Gibson, who they drafted last year as kind of hybrid types. So they could play running back, they could play slot receiver, they could do motion stuff, but they don't really have that other true number 1 guy or number 2 guy. Where if McLaurin gets taken out by a top corner, which again, if there is a big drop off, we've seen teams have those kinds of issues. Can they lean on somebody else like that? Who's their next best receiver? Steven Sims after that, or they could use that other guy.
I think at receiver they'll wash it. I mean, in certain pieces they do with certain players, but who is their quarterback though for next year?
Right now it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then maybe they end up.
Who's the kid that played well in the playoffs?
Heinicke?
Heinicke. Oh, Heinicke. Yeah.
Heinicke played well.
I don't think they're really putting all their eggs in him. That's really what it is.
Well, they tried to go after Sam Darnold. I think they didn't want to give up a second-round draft pick. I think they were trying to get Sam for a third and a fourth and maybe a fifth.
That was the rumor, yes.
Dan says it's the same offense that he was in 2 years ago, same regime from Carolina for Curtis Samuel. Yes, okay, that's fair. Again, the type of player he is, though, is not that true number 2 type receiver, outside guy. He's a slot guy who's solid, good quickness, good short route running, simple route running type guy that can also line up as a running back. But I don't know if he's much more than that right now. And throughout his career, he's been very inconsistent in that, which you can't have as a second option type guy if McLaurin's going to get shut down by a number 1 corner.
But my thing is that with Washington, so they're going, 19th overall. There's not going to be any of the quarterbacks that are going to be left. I can't. I mean, the only one I could see maybe dropping is probably Lance.
No, Trey Lance is going in the top 15. 19. He's going to the top 15.
And that's the thing. He's not going to drop. He's not going to drop that far. So then at that point, if you're Washington, are you really going to go into the season with Fitzpatrick as your quarterback?
You could trade up. You could trade up and get him. You could trade up at 19. You could probably trade with the Cowboys because the Cowboys could still get a corner at 19.
Yeah, Dan says Trask in the second round. That's interesting.
I don't like Trask. I don't think Trask.
Yeah, he's another one that has to be developed. I think he had some flashes, but yeah, he's not going to be at the NFL level. I don't think anything more than a game manager type. In the NFL because he doesn't have that elite arm strength. He has good, solid outside throwing, but that's really it. I don't see much more than that, though, from Trask. I mean, that could be a good, I guess, semi-short-term option, but it's not something I would trust as a franchise quarterback.
I mean, I look at it this way, but the problem with Trask was in big games, he wasn't really great when I saw him play. Very inconsistent at times. Bad, big-time turnover machine in my eyes, too. I did not – when he gets under duress in the pocket, you want to talk about a guy that panics. That kid panics, and he panics really badly to the point where he throws it in double coverage, and he just.
So does every quarterback do? They do that. Every young quarterback does that.
He doesn't know the fact that I mean, look. Yes, some young quarterbacks need to have these things taught to them eventually, but I mean, he never did the basic instincts of he would just go into triple team coverage every single time. It was. Every game, if you look at his numbers, 2, 3, 4 interceptions. It felt like with him.
Yeah, a lot of the big games.
He's dropped to the second round.
But that doesn't sell me or not sell me that he can't be a good quality quarterback in the NFL. We've seen quarterbacks. Andy Dalton, I think he played for Boise State, if I'm not mistaken, or TCU. He was a second-round draft pick. To this day, everybody hates Andy Dalton. But Andy Dalton, if you look at his numbers, he was a quality NFL quarterback when he has 100 more touchdowns than he does of interceptions. And he was successful for 10 years. He was a top 10 quarterback in 5 of the 10 years that he was a starting quarterback. But nobody gives him the credit because he played for the Cincinnati Bengals and he never won a playoff game. So Trask could go somewhere where maybe the Bears or somebody like that. And if you put him around the right talent, a.k.a. the New York Jets didn't do that for Sam Darnold, maybe he starts to develop and becomes a great quarterback in this league.
Dan says 5-to-1 touchdown interception ratio for Trask last season. Yeah, that's why I'm saying he'll be a solid starter if developed right type of quarterback that can show certain flashes, but he's not as mobile as people think. He's more of that pocket guy, which is, again, trending away from the waves of the NFL now. And even the talented pocket quarterbacks are going to be like that too, unless you're like extra special type quarterback. But
who they think Lawrence is.
Right, which they think Lawrence is. But Lawrence has good mobility, too. So I don't think he's really that stereotypical type either. But again, you have to have those other special traits to make it work. And Trask doesn't really have the arm strength. Like Josh was saying, there were times against top teams, LSU's defense, Georgia's defense, they didn't have the decision-making either. Dan says he is as good as Andy Dalton. Okay, is that what you're peaking at for a franchise quarterback?
Well, hold on one second. First of all, Andy Dalton was a successful franchise quarterback. He was. He got a big contract. Cincinnati, at the end, really, the problem with Cincinnati was when it came to the big game or it came to the end of the season, they couldn't stay healthy. And then when they got into the playoffs, they'd either play Pittsburgh or Baltimore, and they get knocked out of the first round because they're playing a better, more talented team. That's not... You can't blame Cincinnati for that. And Marvin Lewis, you go look at the players and the guys that he drafted. He has more players in the NFL, still in the NFL, from what he drafted than any other team in football. So
he should have been a GM, not a coach, even though he wasn't a bad coach. Dan says in the second round that is fair value. Yeah, I'm not denying that. We're not saying that we say Trask is a reach in the second round. I'm just saying that's probably what you're trusting as a franchise quarterback.
When you surprised if New England took him?
In the second round or in the first? Because I was
even in the first.
You think he would take him in the first? I can't see Bill.
No, I've heard rumors that they like him.
They do, but they'll get him in the second round because they got Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round, and they got a steal for Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round.
Yes,
So, and Jimmy, and they, even though they didn't get much for Jimmy, and I think Bill Belichick is probably smacking himself that he traded him like he did, but that had a lot to do with the ownership and Tom Brady. I think that where you look at some of these teams like the Patriots are definitely going to get their franchise quarterback in this draft. Definitely. I don't know where they're going to draft him. I do believe they're going to do everything they can to move up for Justin Fields. Everything that I've heard that if Mac Jones goes 3, which quite possibly could happen, Justin Fields and Trey Lance will be sitting there at 4. Why couldn't the Patriots move up with the draft stock that they have? I think they have 11 draft picks this year. They can give up a significant amount of draft stock to go. They're going to have to give up 3 first-round draft picks, but the Patriots have always drafted very, very well in the seconds, in the thirds, in the fourths, in the fifth rounds. So Bill Belichick could still be successful and still build his team around those type of draft stock, the draft stock that he has to get the quarterback of the future for the organization.
Especially if it's Fields. Like, that would be a monumental change. And we were talking about the AFC East quarterbacks earlier. Whoever the Jets draft, probably Wilson, Tua, and Josh Allen. That's insanity. And the Patriots might have to pull that. The Patriots might have to pull that kind of move, seeing what the Sam Darnold trade is going to happen now, if they want to try to keep up with, I guess, the times. Now, obviously, Belichick has his own creative methods of countering these popular trends, but still,
Carolina got to steal
your own quarterback.
Carolina got a steal
Absolutely.
for Sam Darnold. They did. They got a steal for Sam Darnold. They didn't have to give up any first-round draft picks. They didn't have to give their second this year, or their third, or their fourth, or their fifth. They gave up a 6th-round draft pick this year, and then next year, depending on how good they are, which they'll probably be a lot better next year with the team that they have and the way they're building it, they're going to be a borderline playoff team where. Again, the Jets will have a 2nd-round draft pick, but it might be a late 2nd-round draft pick. So
probably a middle 2nd-round pick, because that defense still needs
You're still going to get Sam. They could build around that defense this year in the draft. They could get a ton of second. I think they have a 2nd and 2 3rd rounds this year. Carolina has the opportunity to build around their prospect pool this year in the draft. I think they're going to be fine. I think Carolina is going to be a team to beat with the weapons they have, and I think Sam Darnold's going to succeed in the NFC. I do want to, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, I want to get into some basketball conversation. I do want to talk about some of the things that I've been hearing about the Brooklyn Nets. And a lot of it stems to who is the MVP right now of the team. Obviously, Kyrie Irving is playing great basketball. The last past week, Kyrie Irving's averaging 32 points a game and 6 or 7 assists a game. Some people can go back and forth on who the point guard should be and who should be the guy that's leading this team into the playoffs. When we come back, I want to get into the Brooklyn Nets and why I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to have a problem when Kevin Durant comes back to the team here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
And we are back, and this is our new show, the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, and Joshua Silverberg. And yes, we're here to 12 a.m. every single Wednesday and Thursday night. We're very happy to be here. Remember, you can call us at 631-500-0548. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Go and check out our app, guys. Going to iOS, WWSR, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Sports, guys, if you like trivia, go to our website and go to the New York Sports Minute Trivia Game. You get a minute, 7 questions to answer. And after this month, we're going to actually have prizes I'm setting up where you can win memorabilia, autograph signings, jerseys, tickets to games, so many opportunities, iPods, different things that we're going to set up for the fans where they can win all different prizes on the network. I want to get into some basketball. And really, for an hour and a half, we were talking about football. I know there's a lot of football fans, and there's so much excitement with the NFL draft right around the corner. April 29th, my birthday, and we know practically the first 3 picks and where they're going. I believe Mac Jones will be the 3rd pick with San Francisco. So you have Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones already being the first 3 picks of the first round. But I want to get into the NBA. And the thing about the NBA is that the playoffs are right around the corner. I think there's like 15 or 14 games left. We don't know where the West is going to fall. And usually every single year, we know who the first 3 the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, and number 3 seed in the Western Conference. We don't know that. We don't know what's going to happen. Being that the LA Lakers right now are fighting injury, LeBron James missed a significant amount of games. Anthony Davis has missed a significant amount of games. So we don't know where that is, as far as the Western Conference is heading. But in the Eastern Conference, we practically know who the number one team, the first seed is going to be in the Eastern Conference, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. And again, I look at with the Kevin Durant situation, and Kevin Durant has not stayed healthy. He has not been healthy all season long, and I believe he will be healthy before the playoffs. And you're going to depend on a lot with Kevin Durant's skill and his offensive ability, especially what we've seen what he did with Golden State and what he did with OKC all those years. But looking at the Brooklyn Nets right now, and a lot of people could go back and forth on who the number one guy is with the Nets. And Kyrie Irving is having one of those years that really stand out to me. Kyrie Irving is averaging 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists a game. He's one of the, as far as field goal percentage, he's 51%. 3-point shots, he's almost 40%. You look at Steph Curry. Steph Curry averages 42, 43%. He's not far away from what Steph Curry is as a 3-point shooter. Kyrie Irving is having an MVP season. Everybody was talking about James Harden and Kevin Durant when Kevin Durant came back. I think Kevin Durant, to me, is comeback player of the year. You look at what he's done since he's come back from his injury. I think he was averaging about 27, 28 points a game. You have 3 players that are averaging between 25 and 28 points a game. And Kyrie Irving, say whatever you want. He doesn't play defense. He's this, he's that. I think, really looking at his numbers and what he's done for this team this year, he is the MVP of this team right now. He really is. And what he did against the Knicks last past week, and what he's done in the last week, and Speedy giggles with his stupid giggles because he thinks that he knows what I'm trying to get at. James Harden is a player. He's been fantastic since the Nets has made that trade. They gave up a lot for James Harden. They're a must-win team now. They have to win either this year or next year, or it was a complete bust on making this trade for James Harden. But if you look at the position that the Nets are, and you look at who's going to be the number 1 guy, or who's the number 2 guy, or who's the number 3 guy, and then you have the bench with LaMarcus Aldridge, and you look at Blake Griffin, and solidify Harris, and all these different guys, and Green. There are a slew of players that are practically Kevin Durant's friends. Look at Jordan. Jordan came to the Nets really because he got that contract because he's Kevin Durant's friend. Green got signed, and he's still on that team because he's a very close friend of Kevin Durant's. They grew up together. They grew up in OKC. They played all those years together over there with OKC. And then you look at some of the players that they brought in. LaMarcus Aldridge, another good friend of Kevin Durant. You look at Blake Griffin, who's very good friends with Jordan, and that's why he's on the team. So you see the understanding of where this team is going, but here's the problem with going into the playoffs. Does this team have enough defensively to get through the Eastern Conference and play one of those Western Conference teams that are bigger, stronger, and better when it comes to offensive rebounding and rebounding? That's the question that the Nets are going to have to answer. And who is the number 2 guy for this team? Is it James Harden, who's not a good playoff player, or is it Kyrie Irving? I think Kyrie Irving, all around, is the best offensive player, even better than Kevin Durant is in the playoffs.
Really?
I really do think that. I really think
a bold statement.
It's a bold statement.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton.
well, let's just go back. Let's backtrack what Kyrie Irving has done in the playoffs, and I'm trying to bring up his playoff numbers.
The numbers, from what I remember, are similar to Durant's in terms of his shooting percentages and his points per game. Obviously, Kyrie Irving...
23 points a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving obviously played with LeBron James. Kevin Durant played with Russell Westbrook and James Harden previously when he was a 6-man. So, again, talent levels at their peak, that kind of cancels out. Carl says Durant went 5 for 5 tonight. Is that the whole game or so far? We'll have to see on that. He's probably only playing a small sample. Dan also says, bold prediction, Nets Heat in Eastern Conference Finals, not the Sixers, and Harden is the MVP of the Nets. I think Errol and I said that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but I've been watching
trade for Oladipo.
I've been watching Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving's playing fantastic basketball. I think he's playing the best basketball I've seen Kyrie Irving play in the beginning of his career. Averaging 28 and 6 right now. Who's been playing better as a point guard?
Yeah, he's been one
of
the best in the second half of the season, and the 10 games or whatever he played in the first half, where he wasn't missing time for whatever strange reasons he was.
He's a strange person. He also thinks the earth is flat. So, again...
He still might.
Kevin Durant in the playoffs, he's averaging 29 points, but Kevin Durant was the number 1, number 2, and number 3 option everywhere he's gone. Kyrie Irving was always a number 2 or number 3 option going over there to the Nets. I think what Kyrie Irving has done this year and solidify himself as the point guard for the Brooklyn Nets, I think he is the number 2 guy for this team. And I'm telling you right now, mark my words, Kyrie Irving has a better playoff run than any one of these guys. Any one of these guys. Because I just think what Kyrie Irving has solidified himself to be this year and the leader of this team. You could say whatever you want with Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving was the first person to decide that he wanted to go to the Nets, not Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant decided to go to the Nets because Kyrie Irving decided he went to the Nets because he grew up a Net fan, a Jason Kidd fan. So I think that it's been amazing what Kyrie Irving has done this year. I'll take back on a lot of things that I've said things about Kyrie Irving over the last couple of months. I think he's played great basketball, and this is what you want to see from a guy. You want to see him play good basketball all the way to the end of the season, going into the playoffs. Who's been better than Kyrie Irving in the regular season?
I don't think anyone was questioning his basketball, though. I think it was more just questioning.
I think it was more of his character.
Yeah, I think he was questioning more.
Character is easy. They're winning right now. They're winning without Kevin Durant. Now Kevin Durant, I didn't even know Kevin Durant came back tonight. So that's a pretty good story. But I think Kyrie Irving has been really solidified himself for this team and where this team is going this year. And I think everybody keeps talking about James Harden, the MVP. James Harden, go look at the numbers that Kyrie Irving is putting up right now. James Harden doesn't even come close to this. Kyrie Irving right now is averaging 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. Field goal percentage of 51. Free throw shooting, I think he's at 90%. And he's one of the best free throw shooters in the league, and he's averaging almost 40% at the three-point line. James Harden, 25.2, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, 46.3 field goal percentage, 35.8 as a three-point shooter, and free throws 87%. If you kind of estimate numbers to numbers, I'm going to tell you, I would take Kyrie Irving right now. I think Kyrie Irving's been a better player, especially in the second half of the season.
Definitely better in the second half. The question is, when you're judging the whole MVP race, has Kyrie Irving hindered himself by not playing enough games?
Probably.
Yeah, that's
he's played 36 games to James Harden's 42. So.
Okay, so I guess you really that could judge maybe in a sample. It is, yeah. Actually, it's not as drastic as I thought, but it might be judgmental when judging maybe those two as the top 2 of the tiebreakers, if that's the case. Now, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen because usually what happens with these MVPs is they end up canceling each other out with these great teams. That's why even though Steph Curry won an MVP with the Splash Brothers, he didn't win much more with Kevin Durant there. Carl says Zach LaVine having a great year. Yes, he is, and that's why he was a first-time All-Star. I don't know about MVP, though.
He's a top 7 MVP. I think what he has done this year, he's solidified himself. And by the way, MVP of the NBA should be Damian Lillard. It should have been Damian Lillard for the last 3 years. Damian Lillard plays for Portland, and being that he plays all the way up there in Portland is not a team that a lot of people, unless you have the NBA package, right, or you watch TNT once in a blue moon, you don't get a chance to see what Damian Lillard is as a player. He's a fantastic player. I'm sorry?
Unless you live in the state of Oregon. That's the only way then.
Yeah, the other thing with Damian Lillard, too, we know that he's this top player. Errol and I both think he's the best point guard in basketball right now.
He is the best point guard.
He's my favorite player in the NBA.
I think what has held him back from MVPs in previous years is sometimes he's gotten off to slow starts. And that might be similarly what happens with Kyrie Irving missing all the games he played, though, too. Not to the same extent, because he was still playing well when he was healthy. But the small sample could hinder him just a little bit in that sense. And that was usually some of the cases with Damian Lillard in a lot of those years where it took him that second half resurgence to get going again. Then he had those great postseasons, and the regular season MVP is a regular season award.
It's so interesting when you look at the NBA and you're trying to compare and contrast who the MVP is. And being that LeBron James missed a significant amount of games, he's not going to be. Joel Embiid, he missed a significant amount of games, he's not going to be. So we're trying to compare, and I don't really care who the MVP is. I more care about where these teams are going to go and who's the MVP of the playoffs. And LeBron James has proven every single year that he is the best player. He takes his game to another level. You look at Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, you say whatever you want. There's so many problems and so many deficiencies that Damian Lillard has walked into, walls that he had to walk into going into the playoffs. When he had LaMarcus Aldridge over there as his second, LaMarcus Aldridge was the number 1 guy, and Damian Lillard was the number 2 guy. They couldn't get over the hump. Last year, doing what they did with the Nuggets playing the way they were, and the Clippers and the Lakers, and being that it was a COVID season, I thought they got the bad end of the stick. I think this year, Damian Lillard with the injury, getting healthy the way they are, I expect Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers to surprise a lot of teams and knock off one of these big teams out of the playoffs. It's so many, there's so much interest going in with the Brooklyn Nets going into the playoffs because of some of the players that have signed on to win a championship with this team. And do you believe in James Harden in the playoffs? Do you believe in Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant in the playoffs? Now, in the Eastern Conference, it makes sense why everybody thinks that they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. And now with the depth that they added with LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, you would say, wow, you added 2 All-Stars, 2, I would say, top 50, top 60 players in the NBA. You should be a championship team. But I agree with Dan. You look at Miami. Miami's solidified themselves. They added Victor Oladipo. I think they really they've sat themselves up very, very well on where this team is and where this team could go. So it's so interesting where people can argue where the Nets are, where the Knicks are, and even going to the Knicks. The Knicks are, what, the 7th seed, the 8th seed right now? They're falling slowly out of a playoff spot. And all the Knicks fans saying, wow, look at what Julius Randle is doing. Ever since the second half of the season, he's been run out. He's looked worse, maybe because he's tired. And now now you have to look at guys like what's his name, Obi Toppin or quickly playing more minutes because you want to see the young players play more, the Kevin Knoxes of the world. That's what you look at the Nets. They're an older team. They're a team. They're a win now team. They get tired, and you have a rookie coach in Steve Nash. Do you trust that Steve Nash is going to make the right moves in the playoffs when they're down 5 or 6 points with 5 minutes left of the game? That's going to be the question with the Nets.
Yeah, there's some teams or some players you can get away with these figurehead coaches like what Steve Nash is, and Golden State and Cleveland with LeBron was one of them. Dan says hitting their stride at the right time. Yes, absolutely. We were saying throughout the beginning of the season, Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, that core was mainly fatigued in the beginning of the year.
He's been fantastic, Tyler Hero.
Right.
He really has.
And now they're finally hitting their stride to the team that we know them to be. And the playoff identity has always been there for Miami. Even since LeBron's left, I think every every year they made the playoffs, they won at least one series. And obviously last year they went to the NBA Finals as a 5 seed. Now, whether the structure made a difference, the bubble, is another question. But a defensive coach like Spoelstra, that kind of identity is still going to be helpful to be pesky no matter what. And if what Errol's saying is true about the Nets defense and they have a lot of trouble, that could spell trouble for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just so interesting. And then you're looking at the playoffs, and I'm trying to bring up the NBA. And Josh, what are your thoughts to what we're saying right now? Have you? I know you're a basketball fan, you're a Knicks fan, but I'm not sure if you have any thoughts to what we're talking about right now.
No, I do. My thought process is this. I agree with you 100% on what the Brooklyn Nets are. We always talk about it. We talked about it in the Weekend Crunch at nauseum. I mean, about in the playoffs, it turns into a half-court game. I mean, that's what it turns into, right? With defense. The thing of it is, I agree with what Dan is saying. I've been on the Miami Heat train for a long time with this team. And once they got Oladipo, and I really thought they were going to get LaMarcus Aldridge. I really thought they were going to. They were reported.
They would have solidified themselves. Yep.
That was what it was. This came out of left field with him going to Brooklyn. I didn't expect it. And what this does now is when the playoffs start and they get Durant, Kyrie, and Harden all back, you could put Aldridge in that starting lineup. And then what you could do is you could move Joe Harris to the bench and have him come off as your 6th man, which then adds depth to this team.
What about Blake Griffin? What about Blake Griffin coming off the bench as your 7th or 8th man?
Yeah, him too. But Joe Harris is like a pure shooter, though, which is something they really, really need. I mean, they need that. They need all the depth they can get. To get Joe Harris coming off the bench is a huge asset for them. I think them against Miami, I think that would be the best team that could beat Brooklyn. I don't see anybody in the East beating them. I don't. I just can't. Now, in the West, it's a different story.
Definitely.
You got Utah. We discussed it. I know you guys, like, if the Lakers get healthy, I mean, those are really the only 2 teams I can think of in the West that maybe could go. I mean, maybe if Aaron Gordon becomes this superhuman guy.
He's playing good basketball right now for the Nuggets. He's playing very good basketball.
He's playing great, and they needed him, too, to help on the interior with Jokic. They needed him. They needed him to help on the interior with them, and he's been a huge help defensively. They got him for if they play the Lakers in the playoffs, he could body LeBron James. That's why they got Aaron Gordon.
Oh, get out of here. He's not bodying anybody. LeBron James is going to wipe the floor with him. He's going to wipe the floor with him.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon's not a great defensive player.
Better to have James ties as LeBron. That's what they're trying to do. So
and it's fine.
I get what they're trying to do. It's not going to work, but I get what they're trying to do.
And you look at the Lakers, they've fallen all the way from 2 or 3 all the way to 5. And LeBron James, still, there's stories coming out that LeBron James is probably not going to play until the last 6 games of the season. So, and Anthony Davis should be around the corner. So Anthony Davis should be back. So
we know what LeBron led teams, though. It never really matters what seed you are.
It doesn't matter.
Because he's going to take over no matter what if he is 100% healthy. Obviously, that's another question. But going back to what you were saying, Josh, about the Jazz and the Nuggets are interesting. As Dan brings up, loves Denver and loves the Jazz. No Lakers this year. Yeah. What's interesting about that is their home court advantage. I know you've mentioned it a couple of times in the past. Playing in the altitude has always been tough on certain teams. Even teams like the Warriors, when they were at their best, they had a lot of trouble in those two arenas for whatever reason. So, especially an Eastern Conference team.
Speedy? Do they get full capacity?
I don't think so.
It's a certain amount they get. I think where enough to change the home court for them specifically.
I think
they'll get home court if they play the Nets in the finals.
I think Utah was considering it at one point during the season, but I think they've backed off on that. I think
don't do what the Texas Rangers did. Don't do what
no,
they did.
Definitely don't do what the Texas Rangers did.
Don't do that.
No, I think they backed off on that. They were thinking about it for a while as maybe a trajectory, but even so, I think even more than the crowd itself, the altitude definitely could make a difference for a team that really is going to have to rely on its starters a lot in the Nets. Whereas the Jazz and the Nuggets, while they do rely on their great starters, they have a good depth as well. Whereas the Nets have guys that now they have veteran guys, but do they fit? Will they work for the playoffs is a whole other question.
It's all about coaching in the playoffs, too, especially in the NBA. And I look at Steve Nash, and being that he's a rookie coach, he was never successful in the playoffs as a player. Do you think that with the team and the talent that he has around him, is he going to be successful coaching this talent? And when they get into trouble and when they fall behind, are they going to be able to compete with those teams that are just as talented or just a little slightly less talented than they are? That's going to be the question. I think that you look at the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz has been absolutely amazing. They've been the number one seed practically since the beginning of the season, and I don't think they're gonna fall out of that number one seed. The problem with Utah is going into the playoffs. Utah, year in and year out, they get into the playoffs, they play very good basketball in the first round, and then something happens in the second round. They get tired, and they can't compete against some of those good teams because usually in the first round you play against the talent that you can beat. If you're a top seed, if you're a top 4 seed. Now Utah, being that they're the number 1 seed, if the season were to end now, they'd be playing the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a pretty easy series for them. I think with the talent where Utah is. And again, I love Donovan Mitchell. He's one of my favorite players. He's a New York guy, and I love that he grew up a Knick fan and all that other stuff, and he wanted to be a New York Knick. The problem with Donovan Mitchell is still the jury's out with this guy because in the playoffs, especially when the rounds go deeper and the round, depending on the round, if they're in a 6th or 7th game, he doesn't show up. He doesn't play well. He buckles under pressure. You say whatever you want about LeBron James. You say whatever you want against some of these top players that we talk about. When it comes to the big game, they don't buckle under pressure. Kyrie Irving, he doesn't buckle under pressure. James Harden, he buckles under pressure. Kevin Durant doesn't buckle under pressure. So again, you got to look at the team and the players and the coaching, and that's how you estimate where these teams are going to go. I don't trust Steve Nash in the Eastern Conference, especially against a Miami Heat team with a great coach, or even the Milwaukee Bucks. Even though I'm not a big fan of the Greek Freak in the playoffs, teams have figured out how to keep him on the outside. You keep him on the outside, you could beat the Milwaukee Bucks. But they're a better team now. They added 3-point shooter in Tucker. They're a better all-around defensive team on the perimeter. That's something that they have been weak in going into the playoffs. So I think Milwaukee's going to be a very dangerous team as well going into the playoffs.
Yeah, you really think the Nets are going to have that good of a defensive game plan on Giannis if that's the series? I mean, the question with Milwaukee is with more of their offense more than anything else. Yeah, but it's the Nets. You really think they're going to be that smart in that regard? I want to go back to Utah though, because the only thing that might be different this year is now they have, if he's healthy, Mike Conley, who can handle the ball with Mitchell too, where Mitchell doesn't have to hand the ball all the time. His usage rate goes up. He gets tired a lot more often. And Conley with Memphis in his prime was a great playoff player though too, even though obviously the team wasn't as talented as some of the other super teams they had in the West at that time. That could make a big difference for them. And I know that's why a lot of people like him a lot more than they usually do, including Dan, who said it in the comments section. It's not the same Utah Jazz, and that's why they're even higher than they've been in previous regular seasons where they may have peaked at a 4 seed. Now they're a 1 and they're here to stay. I'm not going to attack the Utah Jazz because I don't know what they're going to be. They do have Conley this year. That solidifies their point guard position, and he's a very good defender. I would say he's probably the best all-around defensive point guard in the NBA. The problem with Conley is he can't stay healthy, just like Chris Paul going into the playoffs with the Phoenix Suns. Do you trust that Chris Paul is going to stay healthy? That's going to be the question. I don't believe so, because when he went over there with Houston and they had a chance to go all the way, they were on a cusp of knocking off the Golden State Warriors. And they fall apart because Chris Paul can't stay healthy.
Could he stay healthy with the team that they have? And do I trust the Phoenix Suns with the talent that they have? I do not trust DeAndre Ayton. I think DeAndre Ayton is overrated. He was an overrated player when he came from Arizona. So, again, there's so much. And by the way, Dan Mader says, deepest team in the league. Who's the deepest team in the league?
Jazz, I guess.
I think Denver is the deepest team in the league.
All right. You could argue one or the other because they're both very deep, but that's definitely something that's going to help them in that altitude.
With Davis and LeBron healthy, are either of them beating them? Are either of them beating the Lakers?
That's interesting.
Not with Drummond there. I think the offensive rebounds at Anthony Davis is second best offensive rebound in the
totally
league.
forgot the Lakers signed Drummond.
We have to see how Davis comes back. I think that's because we never saw
killer on the interior. That's going to kill
He
them
says
if they play
Jazz.
the Brooklyn Nets in the finals. So I don't know how the Nets are going to be able to.
Yeah, I think the Nets are going to have trouble with the Lakers.
Anybody
for sure.
in the Western Conference, the Nets are going to have problems with.
Yeah, I think
it's a bad matchup for them. It doesn't matter.
The Lakers, I think the biggest thing is how Davis will come back because we know how LeBron comes back. LeBron will be fine. He's going to take over when he needs to. Anthony Davis, though, this is his first real big injury, and also again the first.
That's why they're sitting him out, and that's why they're not playing him because they can still compete with the players in the team that they have, the depth that they have, and anybody that thinks that the Lakers can't win in back-to-back championships are blind because they can absolutely. Adding a guy like Andre Drummond, you have the two best offensive rebounders in the league on one team, and now you're going into the playoffs. And what is the most important part of playing in the fourth quarter? Offensive rebounding. And what do they have? They have the number one and number two guy in the league when it comes to offensive rebound. I think the Lakers solidify themselves to put themselves in a great position with the size and the ability and the depth that they have that they didn't have last year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and the experience too. They're gelling now, even though they're struggling now without LeBron. They're still gelling
and Anthony Davis
in themselves, and that again, it could and Anthony Davis, and that in essence could be a blessing in disguise for their chemistry to work out there too. And again, it's not like the other teams that we've seen, these other super teams that Cleveland had Tyronn Lue, the Warriors of Steve Kerr. They don't have a figurehead coach. Frank Vogel, he's not a great coach. He's a competent coach, though. He's not something that's going to be a big issue
defensive
like Steve Nash.
He's a defensive mind.
Right. He was good with the Pacers on teams that weren't overly deep, and they won a couple playoff series. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals and lost to LeBron with Miami. So he's a competent enough coach to get them far and work with these other younger players. So they definitely have plenty of depth. I just think it mostly depends on how Anthony Davis will come back most of all, because this is his first big injury for a guy his size.
Again, you look at the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, the questions aren't where the Western Conference is so open still, because there are teams right now. San Antonio could squeak in, being that they're the 9th seed. They're only 2 games behind Memphis. Also, the Golden State Warriors, they've played better so far the last couple of weeks. Golden State could squeak in, being that they're only 2 games behind. If Golden State makes it, they play Utah in the first round. They can knock off the Utah Jazz. It's all about, when you get into the playoffs, do your big-time players play at the top of their games? And with Steph Curry there, I'm not a big Steph fan, as everybody knows.
You don't say.
But Steph Curry's still there. You have Draymond Green still there. They have Weapon and Wiseman and the players that they have, Anthony Wiggins. I mean, they're a dangerous, dangerous team, and they have a bench. So health-wise is all what solidifies these teams, and coaching, even though I still think Golden State, it wasn't about coaching. It was about the players and the depth that they had over the years with the players that they have. But I think the Eastern Conference, you know what's going to happen. You have the Brooklyn Nets as a 1 seed. The Philadelphia, unless a catastrophical losing streak, they're the number 2. Milwaukee's the 3. Charlotte or Atlanta. I can't believe Atlanta. Atlanta's playing great basketball, and the youth that they have.
Yeah.
They're playing great basketball. They're a good shooting team, and they're dangerous. And I'll tell you this right now. If Atlanta plays Miami in the first round, Miami could be knocked off. They can absolutely be knocked off.
Does Atlanta have enough defense, though? Because they're a very small team, too.
Yeah, and we see Miami get into these spurts where they can't shoot and they can't hit shots. So, I mean, it can go back and forth with those teams. I just think Atlanta could be a team that could really surprise another team. And if the Knicks could squeak in as the 8th seed and play the Brooklyn Nets, what a first round that would be. Brooklyn versus New York. Mm-hmm. And I think the Knicks could give the Nets fits. I don't think they're going to knock off the Nets, but they can give them fits. They can absolutely give them fits.
I just want them to start a fight to get somebody suspended.
Well, Randall is the guy that would probably do that.
We just want a New York beef.
What was that, Josh?
I said I'll probably throw a chair again or something. The referee will make another bad call and he'll throw the chair again.
What is he, Bob Knight?
When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into March Madness. And my Baylor Bears, yes, I say my Baylor Bears, win the national championship. And I'm going to tell you why they won the national championship. And we're going to get into some baseball conversation as well when we come back here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is late, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to entertain all the fans out there that are listening to us. They come home from a long day, tucking their kids in their beds, and really just hanging out with the wife, not wanting to hang out with their wife, and just sit down and listen to the Sports Loudmouths. Well, we're here for you guys every single Wednesday and Thursday from 9 o'clock to 12 midnight. We're happy to be here, like I said. You can call us at 631-500-0548. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I do want to finish up with the college season with the Baylor Bears. And I think a lot of people, when they go back and forth and they argue, how did they set up their bracket? And I was one of the guys that Speedy and even Josh sitting over here telling me that I was crazy thinking that the Baylor Bears were going to win the national championship, being that in the last couple of weeks of the college basketball season, they didn't look as good as they did in the beginning of the season. And I agree with them, but there was something about the Baylor Bears, being that a lot of the players came back, missing the season last year because of COVID-19, and just they were all about the team. When you look at Mitchell and look at some of the players and some of these future NBA players, and they have quite a few of them. I think 3 or 4 of them that can be drafted in this year's NBA draft. 2 of them already put themselves into the NBA draft, and the other 2 I think will eventually in the next couple of weeks put themselves and put themselves in the draft. I think when you look at the Baylor Bears and watching Gonzaga, and Gonzaga was the one of very few teams to go throughout the season and throughout March Madness undefeated. The last team to do that was the Indiana Hoosiers, if everybody remembers that.
Speaking of Bob Knight.
Bob Knight
really.
And the Indiana Hoosiers were the last team to go undefeated and win a national championship. And they did it in an easier form because they didn't have to go through all these rounds like they do now. I think Gonzaga, that was the amazing thing about the Gonzaga Bulldogs. How about that 3-point shot that they shot against UCLA, which was one I thought the game of the tournament. But going into this game, nobody would have thought that Gonzaga was going to be completely out-rebounded, outshot, out-everything when it came to the table. And that's what the Baylor Bears did. Early in the game, they were up 47-37 in the first quarter, and it was complete domination early in the game, rebounding, shooting threes. And that's what you had to do against the Gonzaga Bulldog team that is very, very talented, especially on the boards, the size that they had. They were absolutely the bigger team going into this game and the much more overall talented team. But what Baylor did throughout this tournament, especially in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 and the Final Four, was play team defense. And what they did early in the game, they showed Gonzaga that they couldn't compete with the talent that the Bears were putting out there. And by the way, Dan was saying, what did Dan say over there?
Looked like Gonzaga ran out of gas after the emotional finish against UCLA. Yes, that can happen, but it was also really bad game planning. So they only were able to get inside. They didn't shoot threes at all. They didn't shoot jumpers at all. They really only were able to get inside. And against Baylor's defense, which has been good, it wasn't their strength as it was in previous years, but it still was a good defense, well-coached defense. They had a very hard time getting it consistently. And they got free throws, they got layups, but that was really it. And that was really their whole offense. They couldn't control the ball.
Right. I mean, they were 25 for 49, 51%. But and Baylor was 44%, but Baylor controlled the ball. That's what then. And when you could control the ball and you have an early lead, you can control the game, and that's what the Baylor Bears did in the game.
I think the biggest difference, though, to why they got off to that really fast start, Gonzaga didn't have a basket in for the first 4 minutes or so, and Baylor was up as much as 19-5. Mark Vital had 8 offensive rebounds. How often do you see that at any level of basketball? It's hard to get 8 rebounds in a game. 8 offensive rebounds. He had 3 in the first 2 minutes. That's what kept possessions going for Baylor, getting them more opportunities, getting them good opportunities, because he had a lot of good passes off of that, too. I think that really made the biggest difference. And then also them making contested threes the way they did. They made 10 3-pointers in the game. A lot of them were contested shots, too, between Jared Butler, between Adam Flagler, who played a great game. And they just had a more complete game. Whereas Gonzaga, it looks like they were only trying to do one thing. They were trying to go inside, and that was it, because they couldn't do anything else well. And with the talent they have, they should be able to do more things well, and they didn't.
They were the most talented team going into this tournament. And the Baylor, going into this game, they were the underdog. They were absolutely the underdog, but I thought that going into this game, I think Baylor could control the game, playing their zone defense, and they did it very, very well, especially early in the game. And you saw at the tip-off who was going to control the ball and how they controlled the ball. And the Baylor Bears were just, they wanted it more. It looked like they wanted it more. I think, like you were saying, Dan, I think they were absolutely spent with that UCLA game. And believe it or not, I think UCLA would have given the Baylor Bears a little bit more of trouble because of the front court talent that the UCLA Bruins did throughout the playoffs. They played very, very well with their front court, and even the front court players were shooting good around the perimeter. So I thought UCLA would have been a bit bigger and a more tested challenge for the Baylor Bears, believe it or not, than the Gonzaga Bulldogs.
Yeah, they don't have the pressure either. That's it. That actually brings up a good point. They don't have the pressure of the undefeated season. I think that eventually had to get to them at some point. And even in that UCLA game, you could definitely tell, because UCLA outplayed Gonzaga in that first half, and Gonzaga really had a couple runs to get them back in the game. And then UCLA wasn't going away. They were just making shots to tie the game, getting free throws. And yeah, maybe that kind of game takes a toll on, maybe they got exposed to an extent too, especially defensively. UCLA put up 90 points, and they put up, I think, 80 in regulation. So that makes a big difference too when it comes to a smart coach like Scott Drew, maybe being able to find weaknesses.
You know, it's amazing when you look back at the whole situation of what happened. You brought it up as the best game of the tournament. I look back at it as one of the best college basketball games I'd seen probably since the UConn-Syracuse Big East tournament game. And I remember that game really well. That game was phenomenal. I mean, Kemba Walker, and I forget who the Syracuse point guard was on that team. He was picked in the top 10. I forget.
Malachi Richardson.
No, it wasn't Richardson. It wasn't Richardson. What's his name? Chanel.
Malachi Richardson.
Went to Miami. He went to Miami. I forget his name. Oh my God. He played so well in the tournament too.
He did, and he was
and LeBron James wanted him. LeBron James wanted him, and he ended up going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. He decided to flee Miami to go back to the Cavaliers to win a championship. I forget who it was.
Johnny Flynn.
No, it wasn't Flynn.
Johnny Flynn.
Well, it wasn't Johnny Flynn.
But it was Johnny Flynn who I'm thinking of.
You're talking about Syracuse. I'm talking about whatchamacallit again? UConn. I'm talking about UConn.
Oh, no. This was with Kemba, but you're thinking of Shabazz Napier.
Shabazz Napier. That's what I'm talking about.
That's another game. The one with Kemba, this was Kemba and Johnny Flynn. That one, that 6 overtime game at the guard.
Who was drafted by Minnesota.
My brother was at that game, coincidentally as that was, and it was really something. That's how good this game was, but Gonzaga didn't play a basketball team. They played a football team on the basketball court. That's who they played. I mean, look at how muscular and how big those Baylor Bears players are. I mean, it was insane how much bigger they were than Gonzaga. They out-muscled them. They out-hustled them. I agree with Dan's point. I think they got so high and mighty and riled up after that win.
That would give you a boost. That's what I would say.
I just think when you get – you know what it is, though? When it hits you – that a new game is starting and you got to get back to reality, it hits you in the face real quick. That's like, oh crap, this isn't UCLA anymore.
It's weird though, because
I think it just hit them. So I get what you're saying, that you would think that would give them a boost and energy and everything, but God, when you go from that high and you're down early like they were, I think they were down 13-2. I think it was early on. You're like, oh my God, this is. I mean, at that point, what are you thinking if you're a player on Gonzaga? You're thinking, crap. I guess.
Dan
we
is
have
Dan
one
saying,
shining moment.
Yeah, that was
Speedy, you
it.
got to read what everybody's writing. You got to make sure that you're looking at the thing so people can get out what they're saying. What are you saying?
Dan says, no, the crash is as low as the high. And yes, it definitely was in that case. The other thing that was weird about it, too, for what you were saying, Josh, and also what you were saying, Dan, too, you would think Gonzaga might have needed a game like that to get battle tested. And you would think with all the blowouts they go through in the regular season, BYU and Iowa in the first game, one of the first games of the season, were the only teams that really gave him that intense second half that they really had to place. You thought that kind of thing could boost them too, but they just were really flat. The emotion, like Dan was saying, definitely took a toll. They were taking a lot of bad shots.
I don't think it had anything to do with it.
I don't think it was the other thing.
They played a better team.
The pressure of the undefeated season was another one. I think you get to this point of even it hinders teams as talented as we saw with Kentucky in 2015 with all the talent that they had with Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker. Even they lost to your Wisconsin Badgers. So
hey, that's what I'm talking about.
So yeah, eventually that does that.
And what happened to them after
combines
that?
with that. And we've entered Wisconsin Duke trash talk again. But yeah, eventually that combined with the pressure and just really a one-dimensional game plan. Why are you only doing one thing? That really doesn't help to win a championship game. Baylor did everything. They rebounded, they shot threes, they shot contested threes, they took smart shots, and they played at many different paces. Gonzaga, it seemed like they were only driving to the hoop, and that was it.
Well, I also think that the Baylor Bears wanted it more, and it showed early in the game the way they were playing, shooting, and they were shooting at will. They were shooting a lot of three-pointers, and they had the better point guard. They had the better guard play, and that it showed in the game. And I think Gonzaga was the better all-around team. They had the more. Everybody keeps saying they were so muscular. Baylor they were smaller. You could see that Gonzaga was the bigger, the more taller team.
Yeah, but I'm talking like muscle strength.
I think Vital really showed why he went to the Bears, why he wanted to go and transfer to the Bears, because he thought the Bears had the best chance of winning the national championship.
But what's his name is going top 5 in the draft now?
Who?
Gonzaga, the point guard.
Oh, Mitchell?
No, for Gonzaga, you're talking about Jalen Suggs or Kispert?
He's talking about Baylor.
No, he said Gonzaga.
No, I'm talking about Gonzaga. What's his name? The kid with the game-winning shot.
Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, he's going to go top 5 now.
Yeah, we knew that.
We
knew that already.
I mean,
we knew that already, but I mean,
this draft has a lot of depth.
Even more.
This draft has a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm.
This draft has a lot of depth with the point guard play, the guard play. I think you're going to see, and there's a lot of foreign players coming into the draft this year.
Yes, there are.
One player that a lot of people believe could be the next, what's his name again? Luka Doncic. A lot of people think that. So, again, you look at the game, and what really stood out to me in this game more than ever is Baylor by far looked like the juggernaut, not Gonzaga, who was the undefeated team, which I was very surprised after that game with UCLA and how close the game was, and it went back and forth. And I just thought that Gonzaga was going to put up more of a fight. It wasn't even close. 86-70.
You think UCLA would have been a better matchup?
Yes, I do.
Baylor would have still won probably by double digits, but
I don't know about winning with double digits. I think it would have been a lot closer.
I mean, that UCLA team was hungry, though.
They were.
I think they would have put up a better fight than I think Gonzaga would.
I think they fit better going into the way they play throughout the tournament and how hard-nosed they are, and their front three, what they did, and dominated going all the way to the Final Four. I thought it was absolutely amazing what UCLA did, and the coach and the team deserve a lot of credit how far they went. So nobody would have thought that the UCLA Bruins would have waited to the Final Four, and I think could have put a better challenge up with the Baylor Bears.
I guess we got to stop the notion of these bad tournament coaches. Mick Cronin won 4 games, more than he ever won with Cincinnati. He had Scott Drew, who won, I think, only 3 other tournament games with Baylor. They were not a great team. Obviously, Gonzaga did. And then Houston in the Final Four, too. I mean, these are all the new identities that they're bringing to college basketball now. And, again, Baylor was just really the best well-rounded bunch out of all of them. And they not only won, but dominated in the Final Four, too. Both of those games were 20 points and 16 points.
But I want to finish up with the baseball season, and being that we have a good half an hour left, and I want to get into why the fans are booing early in the season. Now, I understand I'm a Yankee fan, and I've watched almost every single game so far this season. I think the Yankees, they won tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure they won tonight. They were up. Speedy, get the scores of the game. But the Yankees, they They were
They
up.
lost.
They lost tonight. Okay, so the
Lost
Yankees
in extras, 4-3 in the 11th inning.
4-3, which I can't stand
That
the new rules.
stupid rule.
I
hate that dumb rule.
can't stand the new rules right now with the major leagues. But the Yankees are 3-3, and surprisingly, the Baltimore Orioles are 4-2. But that's going to all change.
Well, they played the Red Sox.
As the season progresses. I think the cream always rises to the top, and I think the Yankees will. With the Yankees and the Rays and the Blue Jays, they're going to be fighting for that number 1 seed. But what bothers me right now watching the New York Yankees is the fans. And Giancarlo Stanton, yes, I would understand why the Yankee fans are not happy with Giancarlo Stanton because he hasn't stayed healthy. He's never been healthy. But this is a guy that's going to have 500 home runs and probably faster than maybe 3 other players will probably hit 500 home runs quicker than he did. And with the injuries that he has fought, it's amazing what he did in the playoffs last year, hitting 6 home runs and playing with. And the Yankee fans are still booing him. How about the Yankee fans booing Aaron Judge early in the season? Aaron Judge, I will say this: Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, they have to stay healthy this year if the Yankees plan to compete, especially with their pitching staff not as strong as everybody thought it was going to be going into the season. Losing Tanaka, losing Paxton, who, by the way, might be out for the rest of the season with his elbow problems. He might need Tommy John surgery. So that was a good move for the New York Yankees. But I just don't understand how baseball fans are already booing players and booing the Yankees right now when you don't know what the Yankees are yet. It's still very, very early in the season. The Yankees have played 6 games already, and it's 3-3. They're 3-3, and they're in second place in the American League East. So Baltimore's the number 1 right now. They're first place. Who would have thought that the Baltimore Orioles
Red
with
Sox
no
are
talent?
back. They just swept the Rays.
Oh, look at that. Well, the Rays, I think the Rays will figure things out, too. I think the Rays are a lot more talented than they have played.
Yeah, it's just they lost so much pitching. That's just.
Well, I also think that he added Archer. I think they'll figure things out. The Rays always figure things out.
Walker too. So
yes.
Right. They're an identity that's younger, and like they develop new players over time type thing.
Yes.
They're more of that second half type team. They'll be fine.
I just don't understand why the Yankee fans are booing their players. And I don't want to hear, I watch all these different radio shows and listen to all these different radio shows. I was listening to Stephen A. Smith the other day, and he was mentioning that the Yankee fans have every right to boo the players. I mean, first of all, there's nobody in the stadiums anyways because you can only have like 2,000 people there. But you can hear the boos. You can hear what the fans are saying. And it annoys the hell out of me when you look at the Yankees year in and year out are always in the playoffs. They're always competing for a championship. And they can't get over the hump. Now, are you going to blame the Yankees, the players that aren't producing? You're going to blame management? You're going to blame this? You're going to blame that? You're going to blame the player because he's coming back from injury, or you're going to blame the player because he can't stay healthy? I don't understand why the Yankee fans just can't sit back and relax and see what these players do throughout the season. If Giancarlo Stanton stays healthy this year, he's hitting 40 home runs. He's hitting over 100 RBIs. Who would think that he's not? If Aaron Judge plays 140 games this year, he's hitting 35, 40 home runs, and he's hitting over 100 RBIs. Who thinks that he's not? So why are they booing them when the season just started? I just don't understand it. I don't. But that's the Yankee fan. But also with the Mets. You're watching the Mets. Watch a pitcher get a job. Now, here's the thing, and I'll say this about the Mets. The Mets are going to have problems throughout the season with their bullpen. They're going to have a lot of problems with their bullpen, not because they don't have the talent. I really believe their manager is not one of those managers that you can depend on in a big game to put the right guys in position to succeed. When it comes to managing in baseball, and everybody would say this, it's all about managing your bullpen. It's all about managing a bullpen. These players are, you can't tell the player what to do or how to hit. He either sees the ball or he doesn't see the ball. He's either hot or he's not hot. You can't tell him how to hit. He's either going to hit it or he's not going to hit it. With pitching, you know who's hot and who's not right off the first 2 or 3 pitches, maybe even off the first pitch coming from the bullpen. And the fact that they took Jacob deGrom out in the 7th inning when he was playing lights out baseball was absolutely unbearable. And I'm a Yankee fan. I'm talking facts here. And this is going to be a problem with the Mets all season long, not because of the players or the consistency of their talent. It's because of their managing and managing the right guy, bringing in the right guy in the right inning. I know it's early in the season, but it only tells you one thing. Is this guy, their manager, I forget what his name is.
Luis Rojas.
Luis Rojas. Is Rojas the manager of the future for this organization where he's going to bring home a championship for the New York Mets? And I'd honestly say with all the acquisitions they made in this offseason, they should have looked at another manager. They really should. I don't think Rojas was the guy with this team and this talent.
Yeah, he's going to be the obvious scapegoat because of the talent that they have. And the Mets have always had a history of bringing in these big-name relievers that don't pan out there, and then they do well somewhere else, or they do well somewhere else before that, and then they do well with the Mets. So this is nothing new to them. In terms of the managerial strategy, that's going to be something throughout the season that Rojas will definitely have to adjust. He's an analytics guy based on his position, so he's going to stick to the book for the most part. But Josh and I were even discussing it yesterday after Off the Mat. Why pitch Trevor May 2 days in a row? That didn't really make much sense in the beginning of the season. And why pitch him in that kind of role when you have a lot of other guys they could have gone to? It's weird. The analytics are nice in terms of trying to judge different matchups, but situational baseball is still something you got to be creative with. And the Mets have always had the trouble with adjusting to that modern concept where relievers in different spots, they have these pure closers that can't pitch well in other spots and vice versa. Seth Lugo is really the only guy that they have that could be versatile, and Trevor May when he's on. But again, so far he's been off.
Aaron Judge is hurt again, so I'm just letting everybody know he's fighting injury right now, soreness in his side. So that's not good, and he might be put on the DL before you know it. And this is a huge problem with the Yankees. They can't stay healthy. But go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I'll do the Yankee point quick, and then I'll get to the Mets. But I brought it up when we did the Weekend Crunch over the weekend. I said to you, in my point of view, I think Giancarlo Stanton in the Yankee fans' eyes is Alex Rodriguez, and Aaron Judge is Derek Jeter, because that was the homegrown talent guy. He came up with the Yankees. They're going to always root for him. He's a good guy. He didn't come over with this big, ginormous contract and all the expectations, and it is unfair. And it's this. I don't boo. I find booing your player is so pointless. What does it honestly accomplish? You think he's really going home remembering that you booed him anyway? The dude's laughing it to the bank. That doesn't really matter. I mean, you can boo him all you want, but that's just the Yankee fan thought. It's every fan's thought. If it's your homegrown player or a big-name free agent or a big asset trade, you're gonna boo the guy that they traded for because he didn't come up with the Yankees, or he didn't come up with the Islanders or the Jets or anything like that. That's just the way the sports world is. As far as the Mets go, their bullpen is an absolute dumpster fire. There is not a single guy that I could see coming into this bullpen where I trust. And the thing that bothers me the most is, it's funny. The Yankees actually will take former starters like a Jordan Montgomery or a Chad Green or something, and they get creative and they put them in the bullpen. And they're thinking, wow, oh my God, this works. They're pitching 2 or 3 innings. It's a really great idea. No. The Mets have Joey Lucchesi, and they have Yamamoto, who had a great spring training and all this. So Yamamoto doesn't make the team. What the hell is the point of having spring training then? Why have it? If you're going to put Familia and Betances on the team, it doesn't matter. But let fans say what they wanted to say.
Dan says, speaking of fans, Dan says it's the fans venting continued frustration. Yeah, because we've dealt with so many big-name relievers that don't play well here. And then, like Josh was saying, it's like Yamamoto is an underrated guy, a guy that was a solid starter for Miami. He's been using the bullpen, doesn't even get to pitch. He's got good velocity. Why not let him try it out in different situations? Baseball's not a pure, all right, this guy's a closer, this guy's a strictly seventh inning guy. It's not like that anymore with these analytics. And I'm surprised Rojas, who's, I forget his previous position, but it was something analytics.
He was in the minors. He was in the minors as the manager. Then he was like the analytics guy.
Something like that.
Callaway was there.
Right. I forget the exact role, but it was an analytics-based position. I'm surprised he isn't being more creative, especially early in the season with these guys, because this is the time to experiment. If you're going to experiment, try to figure out which roles are the best and which roles don't fit certain guys. Because, again, closers steam out eventually. Later-end starters become bullpen guys later on in the playoffs. You have to get these guys acclimated to different roles. That's why these deeper teams, no matter if they're on paper have stardom or not, tend to do better in the playoffs than just top-heavy teams. Now, there are exceptions, but like the Red Sox. But still, most of the teams that win in this analytic-driven, depth-driven baseball is doing that. And the Mets have all this talent, and they have good depth, and yet they're not showing it.
Well, why is it that why can't they get creative? Why can't they let Casey be in the bullpen? Why can't
management
Yamamoto be in the bullpen?
Management.
Why can't they? Why do they have to constantly sign the big name relievers every single year when you know it's going to fall flat on their face, and they just be creative with what they have within their system already? Why do you have to overanalyze it? You see it works for the Yankees and other teams in baseball. Just turn your starters that you have as depth pieces into relievers, and they'll pitch you 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah, there's always certain teams
there's
always certain teams that have the track records too with bullpens, whether they're
the Mets don't even try it, Speedy. They never even do.
Yeah, you don't even they don't even try the thought process that teams like the Rays, teams like the Brewers, Kansas City, there's certain teams that replenish these relievers well with a system that works for them because they have them guys pitching in different roles. Look at the Royals bullpen that beat the Mets in the World Series. Greg Holland was hurt, so they made Wade Davis a closer after Wade Davis was a starter.
Wade Davis was a starter for how many years?
And then they had Kelvin Herrera as a 7th-inning guy that became a closer the next season. They have guys that work. Same thing with the Brewers. They maneuvered guys around when they went to the NLCS a couple of years ago. It wasn't just Hader closing. Hader pitched in the 5th inning. He pitched in the 7th. These guys make it work. And Tampa, they have guys pitching in every inning imaginable in the playoffs for them last year.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, all the Sanchez haters, all the people that say Gary Sanchez stinks. Well, Gary Sanchez, I think, has 3 home runs early this season. He has 2 more home runs than any catcher in baseball, and he's on his way of hitting 30 home runs this season. Now, is he going to hit 280, 290? How many catchers hit 280, 290 besides Real Muto? But Real Muto can't even stay healthy, okay? So
and he doesn't even hit that. He hits about 260, 270.
Yeah. If Gary Sanchez hits 240, 250 right now and hits you 30 home runs and gives you close to 100 RBIs, that's a sensational season. All the Yankee fans that were trying to run Gary Sanchez out, he is a top 3 catcher in baseball. Say whatever you want when it comes to his defensive skills. Defense means a lot, especially in the playoffs. And Gary Sanchez, could he make his defense better? Could he get better as a defensive player? Absolutely can. It's been problem after problem, and we all know with Joe Girardi, he tried very, very hard at getting him back on track because he's a former catcher. I can't stand Yankee fans that shoot at this kid that he is no good. And what is he saying right there?
Sanchez gets no love. It's a shame, yeah. And
it
like
is a
saying,
shame.
catchers are a fluky position too, kind of like relievers, and he's still one of the best offensively we've seen in a while.
He's one of the best all-around catchers in baseball. Maybe because he can't block behind the plate. He could throw out players at second, third. He's in the top 5 when it throwing out players at second base. So I understand that Yankee fans see the deficiencies in Gary Sanchez, and a lot of pitchers don't want to pitch them. So if Garrett Cole don't want to pitch to him, then find him a catcher that he can pitch to. Okay? It doesn't really matter. What Gary Sanchez does better than any player in baseball, any player at his position, is he hits for power. And with the Yankees, if you can get a catcher that's going to give you 30 home runs and 100 RBIs to that lineup with Aaron Judge, when healthy, giving you 35, 40 home runs and 100, Giancarlo 35 to 40 and 100, and all this other, even Gleyber Torres 35 and 100. I mean, you could significantly put yourself as the best offensive team in baseball, which on paper they probably are.
But they still need to do one thing that they can't do in the playoffs so far this season, and that's situationally hit too.
Well, it's still early. It's 6 games into the season. I think the Yankees will figure something out, but it just bothers me that nobody gives Gary Sanchez the love that he deserves. And Yankee fans have been pushing him out, and this is what I love about Brian Cashman. Say whatever you want about Brian Cashman. He believes in Gary Sanchez. You know why? Because analytics would tell you that Gary Sanchez will figure something out because of his power and his ability to hit the ball and hit the long ball in Yankee Stadium. So, and he's a pull ball hitter. And Yankee Stadium, the small stadium that it is, especially it's a hitter's ballpark, Gary Sanchez is going to give you the numbers that you're going to need to be successful at that position.
The whole division outside of Tampa are all bandboxes.
I mean, I'm a Yankee fan. I hate Yankee fans. I absolutely hate Yankee fans. They don't know what the hell they're seeing, what they're talking about, or what they're watching, okay? Because it throws me off on understanding. Do you know how many people were talking about trading Gleyber Torres for Francisco Lindor? Could you? I mean,
remember Jeff wanted to trade Gleyber Torres for Manny Machado,
which was ridiculous. How many stupid people are out there would trade Gleyber Torres, a 23-year-old who's still developing, who had a 40 home run season 2 years ago, and it wasn't healthy, 100% healthy last year, and by the way, bats.350 in the playoffs. Wanted to trade Gleyber Torres and another 1 or 2 other prospects for Francisco Lindor, who just got $340 million and was overpaid. What are you, nuts? Yankee fans don't know most Yankee fans just want the best players on the team because it thinks that'll make them more successful to win, which is ridiculous.
They're just used to George Steinbrenner, what he used to do. So
Yeah,
now they
George
expect everyone else
Steinbrenner,
to
when
do
he did
it.
that, never won. George Steinbrenner, when he went to buy players, he never won. Those championships that he won in the 90s, he didn't buy anybody. He had a core of players, Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, Jorge Posada, Mariano Rivera, and then he signed Wade Boggs. He made a trade for Tino Martinez. He made a trade for Paul O'Neill. They didn't buy players. They brought him in. Scott Brosius, they brought him in as a free agent. Did anybody think Scott Brosius was going to be as good as he was with the Yankees?
Dan says Torres should be more untouchable than anyone in the lineup.
Absolutely. He's the best player on the Yankees. Absolutely he is.
He better be good this year. He's on my fantasy team.
He will be. He will be. I can't stand the fact that Yankee fans don't know what they're watching. They don't. And then you hear them boo. Why are you booing? Why? Because they're 3-3 right now? Every single team is 3-3, 3-2 in the league, except maybe 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, except for the Astros, I think, and the Phillies or something like
Look
that.
who the Astros have played so far this season.
Well, Oakland's good, but
Oakland's not good. I think Oakland's going to be a bad team this year. I think they have a lot of deficiencies in their lineup.
they lost a couple players, but they're kind of like the Rays. They'll figure things out later.
They have a lot of deficiencies right now. And Philadelphia, who would have thought Philadelphia would be 5-1?
Yeah, they swept the Braves. That's to say a lot.
And Cincinnati, who would have thought they would be 5-1 right now? But St.
Nick
Louis
Castellanos is single-handedly carrying that team right now.
Watch out for St. Louis. I really do. I've said this and I'll say it again. I think they're the best. They're going to turn out to be one of the most dangerous teams in all of baseball. With the
I love Milwaukee, man. I love that pitching by the Brewers.
You like Milwaukee?
With Woodruff and Burns?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. And then they go to Hader in the 9th, and you got that lineup with Yelich.
Don't forget about Devin Williams, too. Rookie of the year on the bullpen last year.
That's a good team, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on the Brewers. That's a good team.
I just think that when you look at some of these teams and some of the – I know it's early in the season and you can't really estimate what these teams are going to do and what these players are going to do. For anybody to think that some of these players, because the start of the season, like Gleyber Torres hasn't started off very strong. He hasn't. Does anybody think that Gleyber Torres is going to hit 230 all season long? Come on. It's just ridiculous. And Gary Sanchez, who already has 3 home runs, if Gary Sanchez stays healthy, you don't think Gary Sanchez is hitting 30 home runs? The hell are you guys talking? What are you guys watching? 162 games, and you have 3 home runs already, and you have 6 RBIs. Okay? This guy is on his way of 30, 35, and 100 this year at the catching position. And that's all the Yankee fans, they were going to do anything to get rid of him. They were going to do anything. They would have traded. They would have taken prospects. Yeah, they were going to take prospects.
They were getting Yadier Molina jerseys ready to go for the Yankees. They were getting Yadi jerseys.
Yeah, and what is Yadier Molina doing right now? What's he batting? I mean, seriously, 140? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. The Yankee fans are, and this is the problem with the New York Yankees. This is the problem with New York, is the Yankees' success and the stories where the Yankees have been over the years and where they've been over and over again. They think because of that, the Yankees are going to be automatically a championship competitive team. There are going to be deficiencies in the Yankees this year, especially in their bullpen with the injuries of Britton and Wilson. It is definitely going to hurt them moving forward. As you saw in right now in extra innings, the Yankees went to 2 extra inning games. In 6 games, they've lost both of them. And this has been one of the best bullpens in baseball for the last 30 years. Yeah. Okay?
Down to 3 batter minimum. I hate the stupid rules.
Well, and that's what they're going to do, and I think the change of the rules, and this is what with baseball and professional sports right now, these rule changes have been horrendous.
They think it speeds up the game. It's such nonsense. I'm watching the Mickey Messi. The game didn't end until what time, Speedy? 11 o'clock? The game started at 7 o'clock. This game still went 4 hours.
Yeah.
Come on, I don't do anything.
I think
I'd rather itch my ass and wipe my ass with taking a dump, man. It's terrible. I was watching the other day. I was watching what was I watching? I was watching a baseball game the other day. It went to 11 innings. I was sitting on the bowl at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm watching the game. I mean, seriously, dude, I swear I had to shut it off. It's so stupid.
What if they do this? What if they put the runner at second? Hold on. But they automatically give you an out already. They give you 1 out. Would that make it a little better?
That's what I said. That's what it should be.
Interesting. I never thought of that.
That's what I said.
Give them 1 out. I mean, this whole runner at second, nobody else. Because then when you just bunt the guy over to third, and then you hit a sac fly, and then also the team's winning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right. That's actually interesting to judge that. I still would just go straight through with it. But again,
I wouldn't do the second batter rule. Period. If it were up to me.
Right. I know. I agree with that. I'm just saying.
If it was up to me, I would shove my freaking bat up a umpire's ass. That's what I would do.
Which one?
Stupid ass.
Hernandez?
Any one of them.
Yes. Go get Angel Hernandez. Maybe he'll
Stupid
retire
ass.
finally.
Freaking Rob Manfred's a moron. He is the worst commissioner in professional sports.
Wow.
He is
He
worse
finally
than
surpassed Goodell.
He's so bad. That guy is such an idiot.
I mean, I don't know.
Fool.
I mean, Gary Bettman has had.
No,
3
Gary
strikes
Bettman. Look what he did in the playoffs last year. Gary Bettman has done a very good job for the NHL the last 2 seasons.
He has, but I mean, I guess when you have 3 strikes under your belt as a commissioner, I guess that kind of like
Probably has 3 balls instead of 2. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, he's got a set of testicles. That's for damn sure. I will say that about Gary Bettman. He does. But I'm just thrown off, man. I don't understand when you look at professional baseball. The game has been around for over 150 years. How could you change the rules the way the rules are going and the way the game is? How could you do that? It ruins the game.
Did you know last year on opening night when he was talking to ESPN and the lightning bolt was right behind him? Like, did you not even get that sense of this guy's evil when you saw that? Like, you're like, he's talking about say the lightning strikes. Like,
Skeletor from He-Man.
This guy is like
Skeletor. That's what you know what I'm going to do?
I trust Skeletor as commissioner more than Roger Goodell.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Rob Manfred's face on Skeletor's body. That would be funny. And I'll be He-Man. You could put my face on He-Man. Castle Grayskull.
You should put that tattoo on your ass.
One on one side and one on the other. And I'll have Speedy right on the top on a tramp stamp.
No, for your birthday, I guess I should buy you Rob Manfred toilet paper.
Oh, that's about all he's worth, a piece of toilet paper. I mean,
oh
seriously.
my God! Like I said, I know we were getting up, but I still think when you have 3 strikes under your belt as commissioner, and that's pretty bad.
Like I said, I think in 2024 when his contract is up, I think ownership. I've been saying this over and over again. Cal Ripken Jr. would be the perfect person to take over as the commissioner.
I don't think he'd want to do it though.
Yeah, he did. He was interested in the job.
Was he?
Yes, he was. He interviewed for the job when Manfred got the he got the offer. He was one of the guys.
Commissioners suck. How's that sound? I think
Who?
they all suck. I think all the commissioners suck.
I think you have to. I would put a player that was a player in the position
could relate to it,
that could relate to the players and help out when it comes to the rules. And because if Cal Ripken was the commissioner of baseball, that wouldn't happen. Those rules wouldn't have changed. It ruins the game of baseball. It ruins the speed. Everybody keeps talking about the speed of the game. The speed of the game is fine. It's just when the Yankees play the Red Sox, that's when the game is not fun.
It's just hard in an untimed game too. You're not going to have every situation going to be perfect, and the baseball's having trouble. They're just trying to attract the audience that they're not going to attract anyway when they're going to be losing other fans as a result.
But it's like you think about it the other night, like I'm watching the Mets-Phillies game the other night, the first game of the series, and then I see Aaron Lupus coming in, and I'm saying to myself, I'm like, but you see, this is the problem with a guy like him. He can't come in this role now because of the 3-batter minimum rule. Because now what he's going to have to do is they got to keep him in. And you're taking the best part of the game out, which is the strategy.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. How do you like that?
Which one is that again? What jingle is that?
Folgers.
Really?
It's coffee. It's coffee. I don't like coffee, but I remember that when I was a kid. Who doesn't remember Folgers in your cup? I always remember that. And Trident, remember the Trident commercials? How about break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar? Give me a break. No. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Give me a break. Give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. You don't remember the Kit Kat bar?
Of course I remember that. I remember that one, but I'm thinking of when you go way back, you're talking like the RC Cola commercials. What about the
time to make the donuts?
You remember the Drygo beer?
Yes.
You remember that with the jingles you play with the Mets?
How about the Penguins?
It's Drygo, it's dry beer, and I'd be like, this shit sucks.
Well, how about what was it? Ice. What is that? What is that beer?
Ice.
Doobie doo. The Penguin. You don't remember the penguin? You'd find
Yes, I do. I know what you're talking about. Oh, my God.
But I think it's Molson Ice or something like that. It was.
You think, is it Molson?
I don't know. It was. I forget what commercial. It was the penguin. Oh man, that was so funny. That's a great commercial.
There were some really funny. The Drago beer ones, those were on the radio. Those were funny. Those were funny because the jingles were so bad.
There's a lot of jingles that are bad, but you always remember them. You'll always remember when a jingle really stands out. It really sticks to your brain. And
because you know what it was. I used to listen after I used to go to Met games at Shea Stadium. My dad would turn on the post game on WFAN, and we hear the Drago jingle.
I think Shake Shack needs a jingle. I think. I really think they need
the whole stadium. You're going to have the home opener for the Mets tomorrow, and the whole stadium is going to be on the line for the Shake Shack.
Oh, man, I love Shake Shack. Who doesn't love Shake Shack? Seriously. I love Shake Shack.
I think I actually went to the first ever game at Citi Field. I went to the exhibition game against the Red Sox. I was at that game, and the line was – you thought the lines were bad now at Shake Shack. They were like –
down, yeah,
all around that corridor.
I hate it.
They're headed into the next level,
and I'm just like
everyone's waiting on the stairs.
The hamburger.
Citi Field is so much nicer than Yankee Stadium. I have to say that. I'm a Yankee fan. Citi Field is so much more nicer to walk around and really experience the family end of Citi Field. I just think Yankee Stadium is blah. I love going to check out Monument Park and get the opportunity to walk around Yankee Stadium, and especially to try to catch a ball at batting practice. It's much easier in Yankee Stadium than it is at Citi Field. But
especially at the beginning of Citi Field, it was one of the biggest pitchers parks in all baseball.
But I think when you go to Citi Field, like you said, Arrow, it's more of that family friendly environment where if the game kind of gets out of hand, you could just walk around, go to Shea Bridge, you could walk around to the Met Museum thing, you could walk around, like you could see different. When you go to Yankee Stadium, I've noticed this. When you go there, you have to watch the game. Like that's it. That's just the vibe I get. There's really nowhere to walk around.
There is downstairs.
But I mean, that's really
downstairs, not upstairs. If you go on in the second and third level, there's nowhere to go.
It's also the fact
Monument Park is I went to it. It's a pain in the what to get to.
Well, because there's lines, and now with the COVID-19.
Oh, my God. I went online with Melissa. We're not even Yankee fans. I went to go see it and check it out. I was online for like an hour. And then because this is all they have, that when you go there.
It's also the fact that they're an older franchise, too, and I think they're going to still try to keep tradition to some extent. Baseball, you look at the teams that have the older parks versus the newer parks. Like, a lot of the teams that get these newer parks are expansion teams or 60s expansion teams or trying to be that new school team, whereas the teams that have the history, whether it's on the good side or the bad side, with their being an older team, they're going to embrace it more. I mean, there are exceptions. Cincinnati's got it with Great American Ballpark, obviously.
I don't know. I've been to Tropicana Field.
Shit! Oh God, that's a crappy
park. I like
park.
Tropicana Field.
That's a crappy park.
I enjoy it. I don't know. I just do. It's
ugly. It's so terrible. I was there 3 times.
Have you ever been in it?
Yes, it's a crappy ballpark.
I enjoy it. Like I went to Wrigley.
Place is falling apart.
I went to
Wrigley.
We knew that already. I went to Wrigley. I hated it. I hated Wrigley.
Really?
It's gross.
Pittsburgh.
It was so cramped.
That park is gorgeous,
old.
from what I heard.
Pittsburgh. I've been there once. It's beautiful.
Oakland. When I went to Oakland,
Oakland's a garbage park too.
Oakland was a dumpster.
Well, they're trying to get a new park. They've been trying for like 5 years.
Don't ever go to Oakland. I went to San Francisco, beautiful ballpark. I went to Oakland the day before. Don't ever.
I want to go to St. Louis. That's where I want to go.
My brother's been to St. Louis. He loved it. He said it was great.
I know the fans are crazy over there in St. Louis with the organization and really what they do with their baseball team is fantastic.
It's a baseball town.
It is. And you want to know something? They deserve another football team.
Yes.
They really do. They took the St. Louis Rams out of there. It was a big mistake. Because they were selling out games and they were a championship competitive team. They won a Super Bowl. So I don't understand why they took them out and they brought them to L.A. to play with the Chargers. And San Diego deserves a team too. They shouldn't have moved them out all the way to L.A.
That one big time. The Chargers should have not moved.
I mean, the fans over there are fantastic, and in the city over there, it's wonderful.
They also lost a lot of international audience. There were a lot of fans traveling in from Mexico too.
Really quick, because I know we got to go soon. Really quick, underrated team I've been to, Milwaukee.
That's one I really want to go to too.
You love Milwaukee.
It doesn't even look like a baseball stadium. It doesn't even look like a baseball stadium. It looks like it feels like you're in a football stadium.
That's
It's
one
so
I've been
big.
wanting to go to badly. That and Kansas City, are the two.
And the new Marlins Stadium was nice too.
Yeah.
The new Marlins Stadium was. I've been to too many baseball stadiums.
I went to the Marlins because took a family trip to Florida. It was part of my birthday week in 2011. We went to the year before the park was coming out, so they had all the promotions for it and how cool it looked.
I like
Did you go to the old one?
Yeah, the one that was still sharing with the Dolphins at the football stadium.
Player
We sat
Stadium.
right
I
with
like
Teal
the
Monster.
tanks.
Yep.
I like the tanks that they have over there in Miami. I think it's too much. It's a big park. First of all, it's huge. It's
is
definitely
huge.
a pitcher's ballpark.
Yeah.
It's definitely a pitcher's ballpark. But it just when they made that move for Jose Reyes and putting a guy like that of that magnitude in that ballpark, it made no
Well, they
sense.
brought everybody that year, right?
Yeah, it
Well,
made no
they
sense.
brought Reyes. They brought who else did they
Mark
sign?
Burley.
Mark Burley. They go Ozzie Guillen as the manager.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
tried
God.
to sell the
Yeah.
They
I
traded
love
all the
Ozzie.
play at the deadline.
I loved Ozzy. I loved
He was a nut.
Yeah, but he won a championship.
Yes, he did.
He won a
I don't know
championship.
how, but he did. He's a
won. By the way, before we go, the Islanders made a trade.
Yes, they did.
A very good trade, and they only gave up a first-round draft pick this year, which is probably going to be a late first-round draft pick. The last two, this will be the second year that they traded away their first round. They still have their second, which they traded for Pajot last year, first and the second. They added Palmieri and Zajac, which they added themselves the offensive firepower that they needed, the wingers that they needed. And here's the thing. They don't have to pay their salaries. Guess who's paying their salaries? The Devils.
Yeah, they're paying. They said that I think they agreed to the Devils are going to pay 50% of their salaries, which is a great trade for them. It's a great deal. That was the guy everybody was clamoring for Taylor Hall, and I said, all you guys need is Kyle Palmieri.
And Kyle Palmieri will re-sign.
You guys are thinking the big name. You don't need the big name. You just need a guy that can help Barzell. And Palmieri is the perfect guy. And even Zajac, too, as a veteran.
Great player.
Playoff experience, yeah.
Great player. And Palmieri will probably re-sign with the Islanders. He's from Long Island. He's from Smithtown. He grew up an Islander fan. I think Kyle Palmieri would be another guy. Because the Islanders can't give away their first round, their number one pick, and not sign one of these guys. So they're going to have to sign one of these guys.
Well, the news came out at Buffalo today, too.
What was that?
Buffalo is now officially going to start listening to Jack Eichel offers.
They're going to trade him.
wanna-
He's going to L.A.
I want to be like, duh. Yeah, you should have been doing that for a while now.
He's going to L.A. Everybody knows where he's going. I mean, it's pretty much – unless the Rangers give him something that they just can't refuse. And I don't think the Rangers should. As good as Jack Eichel is.
The price that they're going to – I don't think he's worth the price. I don't.
Well, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. We'll get into a lot of hockey tomorrow. It was a great show tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Bedtime.
Well,
I have to get up at 7 tomorrow.
Well, you can tell Mom that I'll be over a little later, okay?
Oh, Vay, here we go again with the mom thing, you sicko. Let me tell you something. You wouldn't even know what to say to my mother in her heyday.
Well, then you really don't know who I am.
Ain't that a fact, Jack? Okay.
Well, you said Jack, you mean Zajac.
So,
Dan, thank you, man. Dan, thank you for listening. Listen to us tomorrow. We'll have a great show. Josh is going to be the one that's going to be reaching out to guests. We're going to have guests every single show. So definitely stay tuned for that.
We'll start doing that for sure this weekend or next week at some point for sure. I got some Wisconsin Badger boys that I've already contacted.
Great. We've got to listen to this.
And wait.
Yeah, well, when you do that, I'll just
wow.
put him down.
They're disrespecting one of our two-time guests like that.
Nice
Yeah, well, he knew when he came on the show. I told him I wasn't a Badger fan. I couldn't stand him. He knew when he
I
left.
completely ignored my comments on the
Absolutely.
on the section page.
Anything with Badgers, I want to not pay attention to.
Yeah, you ignored my comments on the section page, which you mentioned everything we did tonight. That's for sure. I can see how you pick and choose.
Well, yeah. You Pikachu and I Pikachu.
You know who I should get back? I should talk to Leo Rush. That's who I should really talk. Leo Rush is a good guy.
Leon Rush is a wrestling guy, you know?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I didn't say
He
that.
does more. He's also a rapper.
Oh, is he? Does he want to rap to us? You know what we'll do maybe at one of these shows? We'll rap and we'll see. We'll freestyle against one another. What do you think? Who do you think you'll win?
You'll be the only one to know what you're doing.
Yeah, really. I mean, I went as Eminem for Halloween one year. That doesn't mean I know how to rap.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine you as Eminem. You dyed your hair blonde.
Dude, I had all the fake tattoos like he had and the right spots. And
Could you imagine that?
And I got the haircut like him, too, that year.
Oh, God.
I cannot picture that.
I couldn't either.
No, it did happen. True story.
You would be the goofiest Eminem I've ever seen.
Thank God it's a Halloween costume.
Got some girls' numbers that night, so I guess it'd help.
Oh, it did. And now you're married, so you better be careful.
Yeah, well, I mean,
she's
long gone sleeping. She don't even know I exist anymore.
Most of the time, most people don't know you exist.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. So I guess I really am the outcast.
Oh, shut up, you. Shut up. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We will be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. 3-hour show again. We'll have great sports talk, so many great topics that we're going to get into tomorrow. So definitely stay tuned. Speedy, do you have anything to say before we go?
Well, the first Loudmouths was definitely loud, so I guess it lived up to the hype. So hope everybody enjoyed our loudness and craziness on this show. And thank you to everyone in the comments section, all the viewers that listened and
Daniel Mader
listened to the show.
Well, we were only looking at the comments with Facebook. The other comments on the other platforms, I want to apologize to the fans, but we try to answer all the questions and skim through it. And that's why I tell Speedy to be alert when people are writing to us if they don't want to call the show. But you can always call the show. Next week we'll have another line, so there'll be 2 lines where you can call the show on both lines and argue and attack us on whatever topics we're going to get into. So definitely stay tuned for that. Josh, do you have anything to say before we go?
I want to thank the fans out there for listening to us. We had a great time. This was awesome. Had a lot of fun. I'm going to really enjoy working with you guys. And I fully expect the Mets bullpen to come in tomorrow and screw it up on opening day. So can't wait for that.
Probably.
Awesome.
Are you going to the Met game? Are you going to the Met game?
I'm not. I would love to. I'm trying. My friend Matt asked me, but the tickets are like $95 right now. And to watch this product right now,
it's not worth it.
I love Uncle Stevie.
Uncle Stevie's overcharging those tickets.
Damn, man. Sandy Olsen's got us. I didn't
gotta
like
pay Francisco Lindor's contract.
Chance. I tried to so hard, and he fell asleep with the wheel again. And you know what he said? He said this. He went like this. He goes, "You need bullpen arms," and he went, "We get nothing, nothing, yay!"
Man, listen to that voice, man. We get nothing. You sound like
Mets have all this money,
Chucky from Child's Play, man. I mean,
that's the one who was trying to emulate a surfer dude earlier.
But okay. No, focused on Trevor Bauer.
I sounded.
You sounded good. I'll give you credit on it.
Oh, thank you.
No, he's talking about me, not you.
No. His surfer dude impression was actually pretty good, considering.
Oh, thanks. No, Speedy won't ever compliment me. It's okay.
Well, you look like a young Jewish Rob Redford. There you go.
Well, you know, I like. Oh my God! Remember in the Hello when he does it in the what's the movie in what's the movie with the real estate with the not the real estate agent the business kid Jordan Belfort. Remember the father?
Yes.
Who's calling on a 9 o'clock? Hello.
Oh God.
And I fixed my light issue, by the way.
Yes,
so
you did. It looks better. It definitely
Thank
looks
you.
a lot better.
Thank you.
You definitely need it, and it looks great. Having a green screen definitely looks professional
Yes,
for you.
thank you very much for that this morning.
You're
you told me I could come in the morning.
No, hold on one second.
Morning.
No, you told me you were going to come out in the afternoon, which woke me up. I was relaxing and sleeping and trying to get healthy.
Oh, no. How sorry. You know, you've only
pain
woken
in
me
the
up in
ass.
my sleep on the weekends about 20,000 times. And then you yell me in the text, you know, I try to get in touch with you. How come it's so hard to talk to you?
Yeah. You're a pain in my ass. That's what you are.
Yeah, because I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm nuts. I'm
Yeah,
sleeping.
I never get a chance to sleep, and when I do get a chance to sleep, you screw it up, like always.
You went back to bed probably anyway when I left.
No, I didn't. I was up, and thank you
That's
very
good.
much.
I got you ready to go. I started your day.
Good. You started my day, and
thankful.
and then I had to take a dump. I was on the toilet for an hour. Thank you.
That's good. That's why the green screen was left on the stairs.
Well, that's exactly why. I didn't want you to come in there and see me take a dump. That's for sure. Anyways, that's it for our show. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Until then, this is the Loudmouths, Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Joshua Silverberg saying good night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.